am very excited to say hello to you. You should be welcoming towel up on your screens right about now. We have things to do. Before we do anything, roll the intro.
Hold on. Wait a second. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah, that's the melody to Funky Town.
You heard the towel. Oh, it's me. Nope, hold on a second. That's the melody to Funky Town, and I'm a little towel. Oh, hold on a second. It's so great to see you all. My name is Grant Smith Ellis. Before we even begin the day, let's just watch this report from outside of federal court. I did this report, and some of my colleagues were like, you should be the guy on Court TV. One of them was like, I hung out with this guy from Court TV one time. You sound like him. And I was like, are you talking about Matt Johnson? And she was like, Matt Johnson. I had a great time hanging out with him. All right, first of all, can you tell how excited this little towel is? I can't put it into words, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think you understand what has happened today. I'm just going to play my report from the scene. Then we're going to decompress. I have 8 pages of notes from inside the courtroom. I made a towel drawing. That was my view while I was sitting on the bench outside the court. Oh, can't see it that well. Maybe not. Anyway, let's watch the video. Sorry, I'm a little towel. I'm an excitable towel. I was at the courthouse today for Jessica Leslie's plea hearing. All hell broke loose. The judge accepted the guilty plea for Jessica Leslie, the grand juror leaker, rejected the disposition. So the guilty plea was accepted, but the disposition of 1 day in jail, time served, 24 months supervised release, and coupled with no fine and $100 special assessment was rejected provisionally. Now, I want to explain what this means. Provisionally rejected means the judge, and I was there for the colloquy, Judge Talwani, I saw the look of furor in her eyes about this plea. I saw it. I was sitting in the second or third row. I looked directly at her the entire hearing. When it got to the part about rejecting the disposition, the look in her eye I saw was, I'm not giving this penalty, this disposition for this offense. Then the prosecutor, the assistant U.S. attorney, stood up and said, Judge Talwani, I'm going to file impounded with the court a full overview of all the leaks that Jessica Leslie was involved with. Now, what did we hear in the court? You want me to read verbatim what we heard in the court before we even watch my overview? I want to read verbatim what I heard, okay? I heard during the recitation of facts from the assistant U.S. attorney. All right, where is page 7? Hold on a second. There's page 7, okay? Go from page 6 into page 7. On January 25th, 2024. Okay, hold on one second. I got to go to page 5. Okay, government facts. May 26, 2022. Grand jury impaneled. Grand jurors told not to disclose information at that time. On January 25th, 2024, grand jurors charged up indictments not made public until January 30th. This was the CDL case. Sometime within 24 hours of January 5th, 2024, Jessica Leslie leaked to someone who then leaked onto X about the CDL case. Okay, now, then the U.S. attorney moves on and said, unrelated to the first grand jury, in the next few days, an X account made an X post about the new leak, which was separate from the January 25th indictments. The second grand jury, this is the quote, related to a now closed federal probe unrelated to the indictments from January 2024 that was active in February of 2024. That was the quote. The first set of leaks were about the CDL. Then the assistant U.S. attorney said directly, she didn't say Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case. That was not said. She said the second set of leaks were related to a now closed federal probe unrelated to the first set of indictments from January of 2024. And then she said the federal probe was active in February of 2024. Leslie revealed information about the second grand jury and multiple other investigations. I have this in my notes verbatim. 2 other investigations. So we have the CDL leak, definitely the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case, active in February of 2024. That was Michael Proctor's last grand jury interview. That's basically when it ended. Now closed. Come on. It was the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case, the CDL case, and then it says multiple other investigations. I think the Birchmore probe was probably one of them, because you got to remember in the information in federal court that Jessica Leslie has already pled guilty to, it states that this grand jury was impaneled in May 26th of 2022, but Leslie started leaking in August of 2022, which was the exact month that Alan Jackson joined Karen Reed's legal team. There was no probe into John O'Keefe's death that was active in the fall of 2022. But there was a probe into Sandra Birchmore's death at that time, potentially very early, and other pieces of information that would have been beneficial to the Karen Reed defense team. Okay, now, it then says, in the next few days, so this is the second, okay, in the next few days there was an X account that made a post about the new leak. So there is an X account out there that posted about the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case sometime in the weeks, late January, early February 2024. It's out there if we can find it. The second grand jury related to a now closed federal probe unrelated to the CDL indictments. Leslie revealed information about the second grand jury and multiple other investigations. Then on page 8 I have, and then it moves on, and then, so I think, nope, I have one more page here. The evidence shows because Leslie leaked this information to the person who operated the X account. I have wow under that. We all gasped in the courtroom as this, by the way, when that prosecutor read out that there were 4 different cases that Leslie leaked about and read out that specific line about the now confirmed as closed probe that was active in February of 2024, unrelated to the CDL probe, we all gasped. I want to tell you right now, that entire courtroom gasped. I heard it. I wrote wow on my notes. Okay, there's literally a picture just in the middle of the page. It says wow. Okay. Federal prosecutors will file more information ahead of sentencing under seal regarding the scope and extent of these leaks. Judge now overviews what was said. Leslie agrees with all the facts as alleged. 2 separate investigations in January and February of 2024. When confronted, says Judge, you admitted to disclosing information including witness identities and the content of testimony about these multiple separate investigations. Yes. And then, hold on, the last page says, this is where it got wild. Are you in fact guilty of the offenses charged? Said Judge. Yes, Leslie. Court finds defendant is capable and informed, plea is well founded. Quote, Judge is not yet ready to accept the proposed disposition. The guilty plea, however, is accepted. Next, the pre-sentence report will be done by the end of this week. Sentencing, which will be 9/26/2025 at 3 p.m. and Leslie's released on a PR bond prior to sentencing. Now listen, that judge was pissed that they offered her this disposition, Leslie, this disposition on this set of facts. Judge must have read something in there. I saw the look in Judge's eye. The look was, I am not giving this disposition for this offense, okay, as stated. Now, here's what was noticeably missing. There was nothing announced in the plea agreement or in open court about substantial cooperation. I got the read that Judge was basically saying implicitly to the U.S. Attorney's Office, if you want to plea her down to 1 day time served and 24 months supervised release for leaking about 4 different federal grand jury investigations, you got to basically come in here and say she's substantially cooperating. Now, let me tell you, they snuck her out the courthouse again. Okay, so we were there. The media was there. They snuck her out of that courthouse again. Not the front door, not the back door. They snuck her out of the courthouse undercover again. Her father didn't even come this time. I think they all expected it to just get resolved. Now, it's incredibly interesting. I'm telling you that going into that hearing, I heard her lawyer talking in the hallway to reporters saying things like, oh, this is a nothing burger. It's just about the like he didn't say it's just about the CDL. He was like, it's a nothing burger. Nothing's going to happen today. That man, when he walked out of court, looked shell-shocked. I've never seen anything like that. And by the way, I also saw Jessica Leslie come down from the 9th floor with a lawyer who I had never heard before. I caught her name. It was Grace Edwards. I don't know who that is, but she had, quote, been with Leslie since the beginning of this or something. That's an angle for someone to look into. Anyway, my point is, Leslie comes down from the 9th floor, clearly, and then stands outside the courtroom. There's reporters there. Leslie starts talking to her lawyer and this other lawyer, so the reporters all go in the courtroom. We sit in the courtroom. Every single person in that courtroom was basically, except for me, expecting this to just be a mundane, rudimentary procedural plea hearing. the facts relayed by the U.S. attorney made us all gasp, and then the judge rejecting the term, I'm going to call it provisionally rejecting the disposition, which is what Judge Talwani did. She could have accepted the plea, the disposition right today, and that's what I think everyone expected. But she rejected it provisionally, and the more information the U.S. attorney gives, I think the less comfortable Judge Talwani is going to be with agreeing to the disposition. Now, it leaves Jessica Leslie in an incredibly untenable and difficult position. Because now one of the terms that the judge explained was you can withdraw your guilty plea if the judge accepts the plea but rejects the disposition. Now you got to remember, Jessica Leslie was initially a Step 12 offense on the federal scheduling guidelines, the guidelines, okay, Step 12. She has a 0 criminal record, okay, so she's in Class 1, and she has no criminal history, so she got a 2-level reduction. That brought her to Level 10. Now, Level 10 offense is 6 to 12 months in federal prison. But the offense she's charged with, it turns out contempt of federal court, has a maximum term in prison of any number of years. There's no maximum. You can get life in prison for contempt of the judicial process, the federal judicial process. And so Judge Talwani now has put Jessica Leslie in the U.S. Attorney's Office in a difficult position because Judge Talwani basically provisionally rejected the proposed disposition. Now, the U.S. Attorney's Office, in my opinion, has a way out of this. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. But what they have to do, and what they could have done today but didn't, and this is the part I don't really understand, they could have gone in there and said to Judge Talwani, the reason why we're seeking a downward reduction or departure from the federal sentencing guidelines here from 6 to 12 months to 1 day time served with 24 months supervised probation or supervised release is substantial cooperation. But they didn't say it. Okay, so you got a situation where you got Jessica Leslie being brought in and out of the courthouse undercover, like never seen before. All the reporters I've talked to have never seen it, okay? But then you don't have the government willing to say to Judge Talwani that she's cooperating to ensure that the disposition gets accepted. And so as a result, Judge Talwani accepts the guilty plea but rejects the disposition. Jessica Leslie now has to either withdraw her plea or go into sentencing up in on September 26, 2025, with no idea what Judge Talwani could do. Judge Talwani could send her to federal prison. Judge Talwani could do any number of things. She clearly didn't like the disposition offered today. And so now the U.S. attorneys are basically forced to withdraw this plea and do another plea with Jessica Leslie that includes a line about substantial cooperation because that justifies the downward departure. Well, I'm telling you, I heard enough today to tell you that's exactly what they're going to do. I'm telling you that's what they're going to do because I heard them say that Jessica Leslie didn't just leak about the CDL case. She leaked about 4 cases. It was actually, at first it was the CDL case and then a second grand jury that was active in February of 2024 but is now closed. That was the verbatim language used by the assistant U.S. attorney. Get the record if you don't believe me, verbatim. Okay? And then at first, the U.S. attorney said multiple other investigations, but then later, the assistant U.S. attorney clarified that it was 2. And I have a complete record in my head and also on this paper of everything that was said in that hearing. So I know exactly how all of that went down. I know exactly what's going on. It is very clear that this was a person, Jessica Leslie, leaking about the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case, the CDL case, probably the Sandra Birchmore case, and then another case I can't quite figure out yet. I don't really know. That one baffles me a little bit, but I think I have an idea. So, as a result, we are in an incredible situation. Absolutely incredible. I mean, woe on any news organization that wasn't there today. They may have been getting information from their people, quote unquote, that this was a done deal. They were going to try to keep this quiet. My read is the DOJ doesn't want, this is my opinion, the DOJ doesn't want the public to know that Leslie is cooperating because whatever it is they're investigating is huge. Okay, it's so big that they didn't even want to go in there and tell Judge Talwani that Jessica Leslie was cooperating. And by virtue, oh, sorry, I froze your chat. By not telling Judge Talwani, let me just do the scroll back. By not telling Judge Talwani that Jessica Leslie was cooperating, they forced Judge Talwani, they forced her hand because Judge Talwani would have set a horrible precedent by agreeing to this disposition without an indication of substantial cooperation, because it would have told potential future grand jurors the only thing you're going to get if you leak about 4 different cases is 1 day time served and 24 months supervised release. You could see it. I was there in the courtroom. I could see it in Judge Telwani's eyes. She was not going to let that happen. So I don't know what the U.S. attorney is going to fashion here and Jessica Leslie's attorney is going to fashion as a solution. But as things stand, Judge Telwani is not going to accept that disposition as originally agreed, because this was about 4 different cases at minimum, including the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case, and this is huge. Now, I can tell just by my inductive reasoning and my feel of all this, that what's going on is there is the biggest federal investigation you could possibly imagine, and it's into not only the leaks regarding the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case by Jessica Leslie, not only the cover-up of Sandra Birchmore by Brian Tully's unit and John Fanning and Yuri Buchanan, but also the leak of Lindsay Gattani's phone extraction by Brian Tully, Kate Peter, Jason Broyles, and the people in their orbit. I have a gut feeling about this. I have not been wrong. I was the person screaming from the rooftops that we were going to walk into that federal court today and hear a federal prosecutor or a judge say that either Jessica Leslie was substantially cooperating or that there was some bombshell disclosure about the fact that she leaked about more than the CDL case. Okay? I knew it. Okay? I am telling you that's exactly what happened. Every reporter saw it. Mass Live was there. The Globe was there. Note My Objection was there. The legal analyst for CBS. We were all there. We all heard it. We all know what we were listening to. That was wild. Okay, that was absolutely wild. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. As to what someone asked, why it wasn't that what was important in Lindsay's phone extraction. It was that Brian Tully, Kate Peter, and Jason Broyles wanted to leak that 15-year unredacted extraction, except for messages from Brian Tully to Lindsay and Kate Peter to Lindsay removed. They wanted to leak it because it had pictures of Lindsay giving birth, her protected information, and they knew if they released it on April 24th, 2024, in the lead up to the first Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case, that it would provide public fodder and a distraction for turtle riders, which it did, so that the state police that were friendly with some of the Reed trial witnesses and Kate Peter could not get Aidan Kearney to stop tormenting certain people. First, Kate Peter tried to spread that rumor about Chris Albert and Colin Albert selling drugs to distract from some of the other witnesses. That didn't work. I don't even think Chris and Colin realized they got thrown under the bus. And then when that didn't work, on April 24th, Kate and Tully and Jason Broyles I think they all worked together through a PI firm. I think Tully hired a PI firm run by a guy named Marty Kraft, who then brought in Kate and her weird internet people like Broyles and Christy Citroni, whose mom used to date Marty Kraft, by the way. And the reason they leaked Lindsay Gattani's phone extraction, in my opinion, was because it was 15 years of private family moments that Aidan Kearney and especially Jason Broyles would love to cover. And Kate simply had to tell Jason, Jason was in her Discord since 2019, Jason, just cover this. People will think that you're a turtle rider, and then you can go and get close to Aidan Kearney. Jason Broyles was taking pictures with Meredith, Aidan's current girlfriend, and Lauren Murray, one of his girls in his orbit. Today, Jason Broyles was taking pictures with Jenna Rocco and Nick Rocco, even though Jason Broyles basically has been exposed as a PI for Kate, pretending to be a turtle rider and a free Karen Reed person to get close to funnel intel back to Kate and Tully. That's how dumb some of these people are. I'm sorry, Nick and Jenna Rocco. Are you that dumb? Okay. Do you understand? Jason Broyles first appeared under his real name in the fall of 2023 by buying a free Karen Reed billboard. He didn't really get a lot of traction. He's a little creepy. He kind of looks like a fat version of the Penguin from, remember when Danny DeVito played the Penguin in Batman? He kind of looks like that, all right? He didn't really work. He wasn't what the free Karen Reed girls wanted. He was creepy. He would, share their nudes. It was weird. So then he appeared, in my opinion, he appeared again, okay, right in the fall, it's winter of 2024, January, February. And he wasn't doing much at the time, but he was ready to go when Tully leaked Lindsay's phone extraction to provide fodder for the Turtle Riders, okay? It was an op. Now, the reason why this is all tied together is I don't think Jessica Leslie and the leaks of this information is the core of this investigation. I don't think that Karen Reed and Alan Jackson and Turtle Boy are even the core. They all did bad things, in my opinion, and are targets, in my opinion. but it's not the core of it. The core of it is the cover-up of Sandra Birchmore's murder, the leak of Lindsay Gattani's phone extraction, and then there's some other wild card in here that I can't put my finger on. Like, I have some sense as to what it is, but there's some wild card, okay? And I think it's Levy and Rollins that are the targets of the probe, okay? Because that's why Rollins, the former U.S. Attorney Rachel Rollins, now you got to remember, Rachel Rollins got forced out by the DOJ OIG in May of 2023, okay? Because between August 19th or so and September 6th of 2022, but really it was May of 2022 through September of 2022. Rachel Rollins weaponized the U.S. Attorney's Office to try to interfere in the Suffolk DA primary between Kevin Hayden and Ricardo Arroyo because Rollins wanted Ricardo Arroyo to win. It didn't work. Rollins got caught, forced out. Now, Josh Levy, I think, may have weaponized this office a little bit as well. Okay, and so you have this liberal DOJ, a little bit run amok. Levy, in my opinion, was actually probing the cover-up of Sandra Birchmore's murder, but he allowed Karen and Alan Jackson and ARCA to run amok as kind of like a diversionary tactic to backdoor the state police so Tully, Fanning, Buchanan, whatever, wouldn't know they were being investigated for Sandra's murder. Little did the feds know that this unit like does crazy stuff like on the regular, like, and they just had to watch them. And then eventually Tully leaked Lindsay's phone. There was the changeover to the new DOJ, and then starting in January of 2025, I think you had U.S. Attorney Leah Foley realizing that Levy and Rollins were weaponizing the DOJ for political purposes. Don't even get me started on the Deb Goldberg and Shannon O'Brien situation, okay? Another situation involving Rollins and Sean Collins and Deb Goldberg. Crazy situation. Similar leaks about federal probes for political purposes. So you have Levy and Rollins, I think, as the big fish here. That's my analysis. But there's a lot of sort of spider webs, and I don't know how this is all going to shake out, but I think that's how it's shaping up to me. I see Levy and Rollins as the big fish. I can just bring up for you my handy-dandy chart I made. But let's watch our video first, because this was my live on the scene reporting. Towel News, ladies and gentlemen, live on the scene. Ellis, it's just past federal. Good afternoon. My name is Grant Smith Ellis. It's just past 3:30 p.m. here at the John J. Moakley Federal Courthouse in Boston, where a stunning series of developments has just unfolded related to grand juror leaker Jessica Leslie. Jessica Leslie was scheduled to tender her plea agreement with U.S. prosecutors from the Department of Justice today related to a mysterious series of leaks between August of 2022 and early 2024. And the very first thing we found out, folks, was that Judge Talwani accepted Leslie's guilty plea, but rejected the proposed disposition by federal prosecutors. The proposed disposition of 1 day in jail time served, 24 months supervised release and no fine, and $100 special assessment was initially and provisionally rejected by Judge Talwani. As a result of that rejection, Judge Talwani did accept the guilty plea and set sentencing for September 26, 2025 at 3 p.m. in the John J. Moakley Courthouse behind me. Now, Jessica Leslie has the right to withdraw her guilty plea as a result of that disposition being rejected. But the big news of the day was most certainly that Jessica Leslie not only admitted to FBI agents and in open court to leaking information from the Massachusetts State Trooper CDL scandal between January 25th and January 30th of 2025, but she admitted as well after those indictments came down to leaking information about, quote, an investigation that was running in February of 2024 pursued by the DOJ, but is now closed. Now, the words John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case were not said, folks, but it was clear as one of the 4 reporters in the courtroom that that was exactly what was being discussed. Leslie leaked about the CDL case. She leaked about the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case, and then the U.S. attorney, the assistant U.S. attorney, indicated that Leslie leaked about 2 other unrelated investigations as well. As a result of all of that information being disclosed, the assistant U.S. attorney informed Judge Talwani she would file an impounded pre-sentencing report, including a full description of the information that Judge Talwani would get about the leaks by Ms. Leslie. You could see, ladies and gentlemen, in Judge Talwani's eyes, the furor with this recommended disposition. There was no statement on the record from the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding substantial cooperation, or what's called a 501k motion. And you could see as a result of that Judge Talwani was not comfortable accepting a disposition regarding grand juror leaks from at least 4 different cases in the amount of 1 day in jail time served and 24 months supervised release. Where this leaves this case, ladies and gentlemen, is anyone's guess. What we know right now is firm. September 26, 2025, 3 p.m. in front of Judge Talwani, sentencing. Will that date be moved? Will Leslie withdraw her guilty plea? This woman could now be facing time in prison. What exactly is the nature of the February 2024 investigation that is now closed that Leslie leaked about, and who did she leak to? We know that this grand jury was impaneled on May 26, 2022, and Leslie started leaking for the first time in August of 2022. That is precisely the same month that Alan Jackson joined Karen Reed's legal team. More to come, more investigations, more targets. My name's Grant Smith-Ellis, reporting live from outside the John J. Moakley Courthouse. I'll have more as I know it.
Very nice.
It was good. What did you think? How'd I do? Thank you. It's so great to see so many of you towel friends. Let me just tell you, that was a wild day. Okay? I don't know how to explain it to you. I'm going to talk to you more about it. That was exceptionally wild. I want to show you the video of Jessica Leslie's lawyer. Let me see if I can bring this up for you here. Yeah, Jessica Leslie's lawyer. Here was Jessica Leslie's lawyer walking out of court. He did not have much to say. Now, I know it's Jessica Leslie's lawyer because I was sitting in the courtroom. So let's take a listen. Judge rejected the sentence. And any comment? Tough day? That was intense. Judge rejected the sentence. And any comment? Tough day? I mean, you could see the look in his eyes. Thank you, Jack D65. I appreciate your compliments. I mean, you can see the look in the attorney's eyes, ladies and gentlemen. I'll bring it back for you. He was befuddled. I mean, first of all, he was befuddled that like we were there waiting for him. But then when he looks back to shake his head, he's like, I look at him. He's just like, I can't believe. You could see in his eyes. That's how he looked in court. I cannot believe that just happened. Now, I think in some sense this was to be expected. Did you really think the federal court was just going to sign off on this kind of agreement related to leaking from their grand jury 4 different times? I said going into this hearing, we needed to see the word substantial cooperation or she was not going to get this deal, and that's exactly what happened. I'm not saying Judge Talwani might not eventually see something that will make her feel more comfortable, but I don't think anything short of the statement in open court for like substantial cooperation is going to get this deal approved. I'm saying it right now. I was there. You can wait to see the analysis as other networks pick up on this, but I was there. I know it was said. I know where this is going. That was wild. Absolutely wild. I cannot believe that happened. I cannot believe more news channels didn't realize that was going to happen, especially because I was saying over and over and over again, this is going to be a huge deal. All you had to do was read the reporting. And by the way, I just want to extend a special thank you to the Kate Peter and Jason Broyles and Brian Tully moles that have exposed themselves over the past few days and bowed away gracefully. That was a good life decision, I think. You know, it's fine to get close to me, but all you're going to find is, 1, I know you're coming. 2, I'm actually very lovely, and you're going to come to like me. So, like, unless you want to find yourself in a situation like that, where, like, you come to like the person you're targeting and then have to back away, don't do that. You know, just don't be a mole for Kate Peter or Jason Broyles or Aiden. Just say who you're aligned with, okay? Be transparent about it, and we won't have a problem. If you're a mole and you try to get close to me because I'm a very loving person, 1, it's not going to work. I'm going to give you nothing. You will get nothing from me that I don't want you to know. Okay, and some of it's going to be information that's tagged so that I can send it back to your handlers, okay? But you're going to get nothing from me. It's counterproductive. You're going to make me upset. You're going to hurt my feelings. And then when the time comes and you back away gracefully, I'm still going to be very dignified and compassionate to you. But, you know, don't do that. Just say outward, you know, I'm a Kate Peter person, I'm running an operation on you, and I'll be like, okay, I knew that, you know, and then we can be friends. You can't run your operation, which kind of sucks, no money for you, I know, but we can be friends, all right? Towel loves you all. Speaking of that, let me bring up my chart. Everyone loves this little chart. Let me just, I was talking to a friend today from school, and he was saying, like, Grant, I love your charts. And Harvard, I was thinking Harvard Yard loves my charts too. But, I put this little chart together and I thought to myself, I think today would be a great day to look at this chart. The file name is just Brian Tully. That's hilarious. I'm in a mood. I hope you know I'm in a mood. Like, this is a towel stream, so you can hear this information firsthand from the source, but the price is it's a towel stream, so you have to listen to me giggle. Now, that's my chart. You see my chart? That is my chart. I worked very hard on this chart. I know this is a good chart because I know how many of my colleagues want to use it. Okay? This is what's happening, in my opinion. All right, so we'll all talk about it. Yeah, well, hi, Lisa. It's very good. Oh, Lisa, were you... Lisa said Kate absolutely hates you. Listen, if I were in Kate Peters' position, okay, and I was running this op on vulnerable women, like as a PI job to help Brian Tully, and I knew about Tully covering up Sandra Birchmore's murder, and I was like basically pretending to be vulnerable women's friends to get information about what their biggest fears were so I could make that happen as part of an operation, and the feds might know, I would hate me too. Okay? I would hate me with my entire soul, and that's what I want. I want her to hate me, because if she doesn't hate me, that means she's getting away with it. If she hates me, she's pissed because she got caught. So, nice. She's just one small part of this. Come on. Easy work, bro. Easy work. She's a fucking moron. Kate Peter is a fucking moron. The only person stupider than Kate Peter is perhaps Jason Broyles. They're both very dumb. I don't know. Brian Tully's kind of dumb, too. I'm sorry, Mr. Tully. You're just a little dumb. Like, come on. You had to know Kenny Berkowitz went to the feds back in 2022. How'd you not know that? Come on. Fucked all this up for nothing. You should have just fucking... This bullshit was for nothing. You failed at covering up Sandra's murder, in my opinion. You leaked Lindsay's phone because you got too close to Kate Peter, who's a fucking moron and a fucking... what's the word? Stochastic terrorist. Kate Peter is a stochastic terrorist. So is Aidan Kearney. If you don't know what stochastic terrorism is, it's a way of like riling up certain people through like manipulative language to like cause emotional harm. So, someone made a comment. Hold on. You're looking dapper this afternoon. No, thank you, Leslie. I had to go into federal court. I had to go in there and I was professional. The marshals love little towel. Did you know that they let me wear my Blessed Mother pin into federal court? I can wear it in the courthouse. I can wear it in the courtroom. Why? Because I went and I asked the marshals. I said, may I wear my Blessed Mother pin? And then I said, it's a religious symbol. And they said, that's fine. So there you go. Towel, the proud Catholic walking around the federal courthouse just being a little towel. They all look at me. They all do. It's a little weird. I'm just like, I look at them, because they're more powerful. They are very powerful. But they look at little towel. And I look back at them. I'm like, thanks for doing a good job, government. Towel loves you. I didn't say that. That'd be a little weird. But I give off the vibe that I'm their friend. I try, Also, I noticed some people don't go to those hearings. You got to have, like, cojones. You either need to be clean as a whistle, right? Which towel tried. I'm a little towel. I'm very clean. I'm a towel. You better be clean as a fucking whistle, or you better have balls of steel to walk into that building. Let me just tell you, it is unlike anything you've ever experienced in your entire life to go into the Moakley Courthouse during a high-stakes, very intense hearing, okay? You will see things, you will hear things, and you'll just be like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe this is unfolding. It's just quiet because there's no cameras. The only media allowed in there are like very trusted people, and you're like in the heart of the beast. It's like where the Department of Justice works. There's FBI everywhere. There's DOJ everywhere. I'm pretty sure there's like serious government agencies in there too. Like everywhere you walk around, it's just like big burly people who could ruin you if you do anything wrong. I love federal court. It's my favorite place to be. I know how to respect the rules. Judge smiled at me. At the end, I stood up, I smiled at her, she smiled at me, we had a moment. It was very nice. If a federal judge smiles at you, it means you did a good job obeying the court rules. They had a sign on the courtroom door. I think they knew I was coming because it was on none of the other doors. It said, this is a quiet typing courtroom. Please use a keyboard dampener. Oh, goodness. What a day. So this is my flow chart. All right. Now, if you're wondering how this is all related, okay, so you got to think of the timeline, right? You got to have kind of a sense of the timeline here. Now, in the, I'd say 2022 time period, Rachel Rollins was the U.S. attorney. Okay, Rachel Rollins was a liberal, very liberal. Used to be the DA of Suffolk County. She had a bunch of offenses she wouldn't prosecute. She was notorious for that. She had a lot of tension with other DAs like Michael Morrissey because of that. And she got forced out of office by the DOJ, OIG, and referred for criminal prosecution in the late winter 2022 and into the spring of 2023. Her first assistant, who took her out, interestingly enough, along with Bill Abley, Dustin Chow, and whoever I think I know who the press officer and the executive officer was. She's been there a while. I don't want any problems with her. Let's just say they did good things for America. And they took out Rachel Rollins from her position as U.S. attorney because she weaponized the office to interfere in the Suffolk DA primary between Kevin Hayden and Ricardo Arroyo. So anyway, that's Rachel Rollins. Now, Rachel Rollins was in office when this grand jury was impaneled in May of 2022. Rachel Rollins was in office in the fall of 2022, November to be specific, when Josh Levy hosted a meeting between Karen Reed, Alan Jackson, and David Yannetti. Now, here's why this is so interesting. Let me get my favorite little email. David Yannetti is going to be mad. Well, you know what, David Yannetti? Your own client was the one who ran her mouth about you, and you want to get mad at me for sharing the email. Now, first of all, I'm not sharing the email per se for its content. It makes fun of it's Karen Reed emailing Alan Jackson making fun of David Yannetti, which is a little weird. It's a weird thing for Karen Reed to do. You know what I'm saying? But let me just bring up the email because it's relevant for our purposes, because we know that Rachel Rollins, as U.S. Attorney, impanels this federal grand jury in May of 2022, May 26th of 2022 to be exact. But we also know from Jessica Leslie's information that she pled guilty to that she didn't start leaking until August of 2022. Oh, what's this? That talks specifically in August 2022 about Alan joining Karen's legal team. Why, yes, it does. And you can see on August 26, 2022, Karen Reed wrote, hold on, let me make sure I get all this, because this is all good. Karen loves this email. It's her favorite email. Right, Karen? So anyway, how you doing, Karen? I'm a little towel. That civil suit plan didn't really work. I'm pretty sure Karen Reed's the target of a federal probe. She might be one of the people they get to cooperate, though. So anyway, yeah, I say the F word sometimes. I'm trying not to cuss as much. Did you know you can cuss now in the first 7 seconds of a YouTube live stream? They changed their terms. We're allowed to cuss now. Anyway, so Karen Reed on August 6, 2022, wrote at 5:28 p.m. to be exact, "Okay, thank you. Just please understand that I am summoning every possible resource to get to the 200,000 and that Yannetti is likely out of his league with what this case requires. I just can't have the relationship with David Yannetti fall apart and resort to a public defender for trial. I also don't want to disclose our fee agreement with Yannetti since he's already given me a break on his trial fee, $200,000 versus $250,000, with $100,000 signed over from my bail money if we go to trial. I'm planning on saying that a colleague is paying you directly, which is close to true. A colleague has structured a low-interest personal loan for me that is payable at maturity." And then Alan Jackson says back, "Totally understand. We are good." Now, let's just think a little bit. Where do you, before we go back to the other email, since we're talking about all the bad things people have done, I didn't release this email. Nobody sent me this email. I found it on social media. There's only one person in the world that could have got this email. And I know who it is because of court documents. It was Michael Proctor. All right? Michael Proctor absolutely found this communication while he was looking through Karen Reed's phone, okay, and released it to Kate Peter. There's no doubt in my mind about it. You don't understand. Like, that's why I keep trying to say to people, this is not all black and white. People who do good things in some sense can do bad things in other regards, okay? And morality is often the tension and the rise and fall of good and bad people. So a person there can be a good person who makes bad decisions. There can be a bad person who occasionally does good things. But on the whole, okay? We have a situation where people like to think that their heroes are always right and the villains are always wrong. That's not true. People you worship or idolize, that's why I do a lot of deprogramming, like whether it's Kate Peter, Turtle Boy, Karen, David, Allen, Josh Levy, Rachel Rollins. You can't be partisan about this. You have to have your eyes open. That's why the people I love the most are the people who are not self-interested whatsoever in this, but just want to know what's going on. They don't have loyalty to Kate Peter. They don't have loyalty to Aiden. They don't have loyalty to Karen. They don't have loyalty to anyone. Their only loyalty is to the truth. There's only a few of you. There's more and more of you now because I think you're all realizing this is going to hell in a handbasket. But on the whole, that's the problem. There's a lot of partisanship, and so people look the other way when people they agree with do bad things. That's what enabled all of this. I'm pretty sure that's why the feds are involved, because even the state police were doing it. They were saying to people like Kate Peter, listen, we did a good job getting John O'Keefe, Karen Reed for John O'Keefe's murder. Like, you got to make sure we don't get banged on the Birchmore thing, right? Marty Kraft, make sure we don't get banged. Like, so what? We covered up Sandra Birchmore's murder. She was just some worthless, single mom. I'm talking as the unit. She was just worthless, She's nobody. She was just a kid being abused by a ring of cops. Like, we can't look into that. God bless you, Harvard Yard. Thank you for your support. And it's the same mentality that led Tully's unit to leak Lindsay's phone. Oh, Lindsay's just a soccer mom. She's not Jen McCabe. She doesn't have money. She doesn't have connections. We'll fuck her over. All right, that's why I'm pissed, okay? Because not only did Karen and Alan and David do bad things with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and not only did the old U.S. Attorney's Office under Rollins and Levy do bad things, not only did Turtle Boy do bad things with the leaking of the information and the targeting of the witnesses in the Reed case and Lindsay and all of that, but Brian Tully's unit did bad things with the cover-up of Sandra Birchmore's murder, and they did bad things with the leak of Lindsay Gattani's phone extraction. And that's why this is so difficult, and part of why people are running away from this story, because I don't think anyone expected the reality to have been that everybody did bad things. That is not the story that anyone wanted to cover. This became so partisan, so polemical, so encamped in people's different cults that no one wanted to tell the whole story because it made everybody look bad. But it's too late. I don't think people realize how many networks, how many outlets know about this. Okay? So in federal court today, if you missed it, what we heard, if you're just tuning in, was that Jessica Leslie attempted to plead guilty. Oh, God bless you. Oh, Lisa says I'm hot. I think I am actually relatively cold right now. It's about 64 degrees in the Towel streaming studio, which is just my office with an air conditioner on so I don't overheat. But you're very kind. I mean, if I run too hot, I'll let you know, Lisa. Jack D65 says yes and gave a $5.26 donation. That's some kind of code word. So, yes, the 526, yes. Whatever the mission is, go, Jack D65. Enjoy your trip to Pluto. Can you tell a bit of mood? I had a coffee at like 4 p.m. Do not give... First of all, I had an energy drink before court. That was not good. Then I had a coffee on the way home because I said if I'm going to do the stream, I better have a coffee. Now I feel... I've had about 7 coffees today. I feel like I'm going to run through a wall. So you're going to have to deal with this until the caffeine goes away. But thank you. You all seem to be benefiting from my brain just dropping information, and that's what we shall do. Now, let's talk a little bit more about what Tal saw today. So the reason why this all plays together is this is not a normal case, okay? Normal cases happen in federal court every day. Even high-level cooperation cases happen in federal court every day. This is not a normal case. There's something going on here that ties together Jessica Leslie's leaks to other active probes and closed probes, all of which circle around the state police. Okay, I'm positive. In particular, Brian Tully's former unit. John Fanning, Yuri Buchanan, Nick Duane, Nick Garino, Michael Proctor, John Fanning, if I didn't already say him. All right, so we got that little crew. All right, but then what was happening was U.S. Attorney Leah Foley may have realized what was happening with that unit, but also that the old liberal DOJ under Levy and Rollins did some really bad things to try to get the state police. So do you see how this is all lining up? The state police did really bad things to try to get Aiden and Karen. Well, first of all, Aiden and Karen did really bad things because, in my opinion, they're both criminally charged with things for a reason, or were guilty of things, or charged. Either way, okay, they're similar in mindset, okay? Then the state police, Brian Tully's unit, did bad things trying to get them, involving Kate Peter and Jason Broyles, and the leak of Lindsay Catani's phone extraction and a number of other bad things, okay? Then the liberal DOJ under Levy and Rollins did bad things to try to get the state police, who were doing bad things to try to get Ada and Karen, who were doing bad things. It's a clusterfuck, okay? James Joyce could write it. Vico would be proud. Hegel would smile, all right? It's a recursive historical circle of the most obvious and odious order, all right? That's exactly what happened. That's exactly how it played out. And now you have the new DOJ that has to protect the institutional integrity of the Department of Justice. Okay, do you think that June 2025 bar complaint against Rachel Rollins, who has not practiced law in 2 years and does not have malpractice insurance, was a coincidence? No. The DOJ, this DOJ just is trying to charge Jack Smith, perhaps rightfully so, the counsel who went after President Trump, the special prosecutor. It's very political. Now, it can be political and everyone involved could have done bad things, okay? But that's not going to stop, that's not going to protect Rachel Rollins or Josh Levy. This DOJ will, if anything, want to get them more because they're liberals who abuse the office, and that means people will be more likely to vote Republican. I used to be a liberal, a Democrat. I am now basically like moderate right because of some of the stuff I've seen the Democratic Party do in Massachusetts. All right? I think a lot of the Republicans know that. Like, if you're winning me over, then this is what you push. You're not pushing anything. You expose what the Democratic machine really does, and this is an example. Michael Morrissey's state police unit covered up the murder of Sandra Birchmore because John Fanning and Yuri Buchanan used to work with Matthew Farwell, who's accused of Sandra's murder, in Stoughton. That's my opinion. Okay? Now, what's really weird, when you start looking into the details and talking to some of the people who are around the orbit of these cases, what's really weird is that there were multiple girls in Canton and the Stoughton area. And Sandra Birchmore may have owed some money to the girls, as if they were all working in a house together. Maybe there was some kind of situation where these cops weren't just visiting girls and abusing them, but it was a ring of cops who had a place they could go, and the girls would make some, quote, money. Okay? This may have been a brothel run by cops. Okay? In Canton or Stoughton. I'm not exactly sure where the actual building was, but I'll find out. Now, this goes along with the reports of Yuri and John Fanning going around to high school parties when they were in their 20s in Canton. All right? It's a very tight-knit, very, very, very tight-knit place. Okay? And it makes you wonder, how did Matthew Farwell initially go to Sandra Birchmore's apartment on February 1st, 2021? Yep. February 1st, 2021 at 9:23 p.m. Doing this from memory. How did he initially go there? Well, he was under the impression that he had impregnated Sandra and that she was pregnant with his child. So he went there, and he did something terrible to her. He killed her in the most brutal way possible. And on February 4th, 2021, Sandra's body was discovered by the Canton police. The Canton police, within 48 hours, literally by February 6th, that Wednesday, had obtained information that Matthew Farwell was at Sandra Birchmore's apartment on camera at 9:23 p.m. on February 1st, 2021. That Matthew Farwell was the same man who helped Sandra move into his apartment. They interviewed the maintenance man at her apartment building. Then the Canton police went to Sandra's school, okay, where a friend had got her a job. And they found out that Matthew Farwell had been telling people that he had been abusing Sandra since she was a child, and that if Sandra did not get rid of the child in her womb before it was carried to term, that Farwell would take care of the problem himself. That was the exact words in the Canton police report. That information was turned over to Brian Tully's unit of the state police on February 6, 2022, because under state law, all unattended deaths are in the original jurisdiction of the state police, okay? So the local unit does the initial investigation. The local police, they turn over everything to the state police. They turn over the investigation. Canton PD has no more involvement with Sandra Birchmore's murder investigation after February 6th of 2021, okay? Somehow, John Fanning writes a report, even though he used to work in Stoughton as a cop, where Matthew Farwell, the man who was alleged to have murdered Sandra Birchmore, used to work. That exonerates Matthew Farwell and rules Sandra's death the result of self-harm. Nobody really knows how that happened. Nobody really knows why the medical examiner, Irene Scadorti-Bello, wrote that finding about Sandra Birchmore. And nobody really knows whether she was a little pissed off about being forced to do that and maybe getting interviewed by the FBI, and then maybe sabotage the John O'Keefe case. Now, I'm not saying she did, okay? I'm just saying she was a little pissed off. That's my opinion, all right? I'm just saying she was a little pissed off at this unit. They made her do some bad things, in particular with the Sandra Birchmore case, and I think she got caught up in a federal probe as a result. Now, let's think a little bit here about what Matthew Farwell might have been told by his co-conspirators about Sandra Birchmore's child, who's not, according to new DNA test released, newly released DNA test, actually the father of Sandra Birchmore's child. Let's think a little bit about this. Do you think maybe, just maybe, Sandra was, maybe going to talk about this ring of cops? Do you think maybe, just maybe, this ring of cops needed someone to do the job? And maybe they couldn't have Matt Farwell do a hit, because, that's a little brutal. But, maybe they profiled Matt Farwell, and he killed this girl, Sandra Birchmore, and we should not forget that. But maybe they told him it was, and they told Sandra, too, to say to him it was his baby, and how excited she was. Okay, maybe she really wanted him to be the father. Maybe she was manipulated, obviously. And then Farwell sent over there to kill her. Then you have John Fanning and Yuri Buchanan on the unit that investigates it, and no one's going to ever ask questions about the teacher's aide who was pregnant, like, quote, in their words, the cops' words, like to sleep around with cops, okay? No one's going to ask questions about I don't want to use their parlance, but the woman of the night with an unborn child. Well, people ask questions. God bless Sandra's family for asking those questions, because they got the answers they deserved eventually. We're not fully there. I think part of this is whether Matthew Farwell, who was supposed to have a hearing today, by the way, in federal court, got delayed until October, just like a lot of his hearings have been delayed lately, cooperates. And you have to wonder if Matthew Farwell found out that he was lied to by some of his co-conspirators. And you have to wonder if Sandra was indeed victimized and put in some kind of brothel. And if there are indeed multiple surviving women in the orbit of that ring of cops around Farwell. There's just a lot of open questions about that and what secrets lay beneath in Canton and Stoughton. What was going on there? This is it doesn't really feel satanic to me. It more feels like just pure power, like a small scale version of Epstein. Just pure power. Like, these girls were nothing to them, and like it was access to stuff people couldn't have. They used the Police Explorers program, god damn it, to recruit young girls. It was just pure power, like sexual gratification. That's why I want most of them to rot in federal prison. I do think a little of the Lindsay Gattani phone extraction leak was sexual gratification. I'm starting to wonder, I have nothing to confirm it, but I'm just starting to wonder if I'm just starting to wonder if maybe, like, because I kind of see it with like Kate Peter a little bit and with Broyles. I wonder if there was an element of sexual gratification with like looking through Lindsay's phone, like with Karen's. Like, I think these cops like get off on like power over women. Now Karen, you don't want to fuck with Karen. I think she sent that message loud and clear. Like, but some women are very passive when that stuff happens, which is scary. I'm seeing it unfold on Twitter now with a lot of Jason Broyles' alleged victims. who are speaking up. They're very passive because Broyles was threatening to dox their dead boyfriends and crazy stuff. But, you know, I do wonder, just like with Birchmore and the girls in her orbit, it was all about sexual gratification and power. I do wonder if Broyles and Kate leaking Lindsay's phone, like, I wonder if they got off on it, like, sexually a little bit. That makes me want them to go to federal prison. And, like, I don't know if Brian Tully did it because, like, Jen McCabe wanted a favor or whatever, like the leak of the phone. I hope it wasn't for sexual gratification. If I find out it was, like, I will give a victim's impact statement and tell the judge to make sure he never sees the light of day again. Okay? If I see anything in writing indicating that Brian Tully leaked that extraction even partially for sexual gratification. But Kate and Jason, oh, for sure, like, they're fucked in the head, in my opinion. They both would absolutely get off sexually on, like, Lindsay and her private moments being exposed. Like, Aiden a little bit too. Like, that, they're all kind of fucked in the head, in my opinion. But yeah, like, that's a crime. Like, that is a fucking crime. It's a sexually based offense, in my opinion. Okay? So, I really do hope indictments come to. That's the vibe I got today. Like, there are going to be some hellacious consequences for the people that were involved in some of this stuff. Because I saw Judge Talwani's eyes, and she's read some of the impounded stuff, I'm sure. I saw Judge Talwani's eyes when she was asked to give a lenient sentence on leaking about 4 different federal cases. Oh my God, she was so mad. And people have told me before, Grant, you have to understand how scary federal court can be. I thought they meant like the building was intimidating. Oh no. I looked in that judge's eyes. She looked at both the defense lawyer and the prosecutor, and she didn't have to say, like, I'm uncomfortable with this. She looked like she was going to eat them. I don't even know how to describe it. I think eating them is a little bit of an a little hyperbolic. I'd have to describe the look just like this. Like, she went from, like, kind of like, let's get through this, like, mundane procedural reading of the rights and the waiver of the indictment and etc. Mostly kind of just like going along. But when she got to that part where she was asked, Judge Talwani was asked to approve the plea disposition, not the guilty, the plea disposition. She looked at them both. She, like this. Like, she had her head looking at her documents, but she looked up and she grilled them. The prosecutor and the defense attorney, just like, and it wasn't even quizzical. Because quizzical would be too generous, way too generous. She was not she was not being inquisitive. She was not inquisitive. She was not asking questions. She was furious. She looked at both of them and basically told them no with her eyes. It was like this. It was a glare. That's the best way to put it. She glared at them. Like, you think this is the appropriate punishment? That was honestly the vibe in the courtroom. Now, I'm not saying that Judge Talwani won't eventually get to the point where she's okay with this punishment. It just, in that moment, I saw her. People were saying, oh, she didn't, reject it outright. She technically provisionally rejected it. But I'm telling you, like, it's only going to get worse for Jessica Leslie. The only thing that's going to get Jessica Leslie that original deal, in my opinion, it's out of Jessica Leslie's control. It's the U.S. government saying to Judge Talwani, this person cooperated. That's why today was a big deal. All right. Now, this is a breaking news stream, but let me finish wrapping up how all of this ties together. All right. So if you're just tuning in, there were big developments today at federal court. I think it has to do with a lot of different intertwining developments. But so that's the thing. A lot of people are going to try to go live to talk about this. And I just want to be clear, there were only 4 of us there. So now I heard one of them was like a Karen Reed person. She used to work for like Business Insider or something like 30 years ago. She hadn't been around for a while. I don't know if she's like doing PR for Karen Reed or something, but she was there but got the read completely wrong. She missed stuff. She didn't understand what was being said. She was telling people she hadn't been around for 30 years. She didn't really know what was going on. You could tell, I think it was T.S. Lawrence or something. She had no idea what was going on. Shelley Murphy knew what was going on, but I think Shelley Murphy thought it was going to be a nothing burger. It was the opposite of a nothing burger. So Shelley Murphy I don't even know if she could talk. I didn't try to talk to her after the hearing, but she was just dumbfounded. and rightfully so, because this is what was coming, but she wanted to hear it, and she did, in my opinion. Then there was Note My Objection. She was on the other side of the courtroom, so I couldn't see as clearly how she was reacting to some of this stuff. But if you do not hear from Note My Objection, myself, or Shelley Murphy, or the nice woman from Mass Live, I forget her name. She was very nice. She was new on the beat. She knew my old friend Melissa, who used to work at Mass Live. She was Melissa's writing was very good. We used to be on the CCC beat together for a while. Anyway, so this nice woman from Mass Live, excellent reporter, she was on the ball. She knew what was going on. And she was like, I was trying to get caught up on this, and she got caught up like right away. That's how I knew like she was on the ball. If you don't hear from that woman with Mass Live that was in the courtroom, me or Shelley Murphy, it didn't happen today. I'm telling you. There was only 3 of us in the courtroom, or Note My Objection. So the woman from Mass Live, me, Shelley Murphy, or Note My Objection. If you don't hear from one of those 4 people, it didn't happen. I'm telling you, those were the only 4 people who were in the room that were not FBI agents, federal prosecutors, Jessica Leslie's attorneys, or court marshals. I was there. I have all of my notes. I know exactly what happened. So, again, there are a lot of people, especially when people realize you're going to see the reports start coming out. It's going to take a second. It will start with Mass Live. Then it will probably go to CBS, WBZ, because Note My Objection was there. Then we'll see it in the Globe tomorrow. Okay, the Globe. Shelley Murphy definitely. I didn't ask her, but she definitely heard and knows what was said. Okay, when you hear that sentence, probe that was open in February of 2024, closed now. You know that's Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. They don't have to say it. Yes, I think J.M. Lawrence is Karen Reed friendly. Yeah, that was the vibe I got. I could be wrong. Yeah, Turtle Boy's really dumb. So J.M. Lawrence was there to the left of me. Shelley Murphy was in front of me. I was in the row behind them, the second row. And then behind us was, I think, a prosecutor. To the right was definitely an FBI agent. Like I knew because it was the same FBI agent from last time. To the front of the FBI agent, 2 seats to the right, was Jessica Leslie's female lawyer, Grace Edwards, but she was not admitted on this case, so she was just in the front row. Then to the right of that was 3 people I didn't know. They looked affiliated with Jessica Leslie. Behind them was Note My Objection in the second row, far right, all the way against the wall. And then behind her were 3 people in suits that I thought were from the Department of Justice, but I had never seen them before. And then there were 2 court marshals. And then outside of the clerk and the judge and the attorneys, there was no one else there. The court reporter, but that was it. There was no one else there. Yeah, so JD is friends with Shelley Murphy. They were chatting it up, but they hadn't seen each other in a while. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about JD Lawrence. I just thought they were pro Karen Reed. And I think they got a little bit of the reporting wrong. I didn't read all of it. But I know, trust me, I was in the zone. I know exactly what happened. And if you do not hear it from Shelley Murphy, me, Note My Objection, or the woman from Mass Live, whose name I'm forgetting. I feel terrible about it, but she's a young colleague, so I've only met her for the one time, and names are hard. If you don't hear from us 4, it didn't happen. I'm telling you right now, those were the 4 people in the courtroom. That was wild. I can't believe more people didn't go. Maybe they got there late. Maybe they thought it would be routine. They made a mistake. That was huge. They missed the scoop of the century. I told you it was going to be the biggest day of my career, and I was right. Thank you, Miss Lisa. Now, if you're just tuning in, I know Taterbug didn't want to get, Taterbug got a little thrown off. So Taterbug, we had a huge day. Jessica Leslie was in court. Oh, yeah, so J.M. Lawrence was apparently not in alignment with what I know to have happened. So I had a feeling J.M. Lawrence wasn't reporting it right. That's why it was so important for me. I took my handwritten notes and I posted them. And then I also did a live report from outside the court. I wanted people to know from someone. Now, J.M. Lawrence was like completely out of their realm, just so folks understand. So if they're being kind of promoted or pushed by Turtle Boy, whatever, J.M. Lawrence couldn't even really, they were admitting. I heard J.M. Lawrence say to Shelley Murphy, they didn't really know what was going on, okay? And they were trying to get caught up. I know what's going on. Okay, I'm not tooting my own horn. I've worked very hard over the past 18 months to be ready for this, and I was ready for it. I think Note My Objection, you listen to Note My Objection too. Note My Objection certainly knew what was going on, but I didn't have time to talk to her because it was chaos after the hearing. I was like running around like a little tout. All right. Then, the key to all of this is going to be the woman who writes for Mass Live. Because you have me, you have Shelley Murphy, and then you have Note My Objection. Those are three very credible sources, but you're going to hear three different perspectives, all very similar. Note My Objection, I think, is a legal analyst for CBS, so trust what she says. I'm a towel. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. I'm just in law school. I'm a towel. All right? You're going to hear from the Mass Live woman. She doesn't know the case as well as some of us, and she admits to it. But that's fine. You have to learn the case when you cover it, okay? She gets sent down there on a beat assignment and gets like the case of her fucking career and nails it. So when you read that Mass Live report, and they need to hire her, like, she is great. She's going to be an excellent reporter. She's a lot younger than me. She's probably like 24. I don't want to insult her, but she's young. But she got it. She picked it up in 10 minutes. Like, she watched the whole hearing. She went outside, she stood around, she worked with us to cover the doors to see if they would leave through the doors. Excellent beat reporter. I forget her name, but when her article comes out, that will be one of the perspectives, and folks should pay attention to that. Because once it goes in Mass Live, and once it goes in some of these other outlets, CBS, then all of a sudden you start realizing how the weight of this, and you'll hear it in Note My Objections analysis, you'll hear it in the Mass Live report, the weight of what we saw today. Now, there are some people, J.M. Lawrence or whatever, who didn't want to hear what we heard today, but that's, they're partisan, okay? But the factual record, there's an audio recording from the federal court. I don't know if they ever give them out, but I think they record them. There's a transcript that you can order, which we will, okay? There's a definitive record, okay? And it's going to quickly become 4 people who heard exactly what went down and have the record to back them up versus one person who's spinning. And I'm telling you, like, that was bombshell, okay? 4 different cases, at least, that Leslie leaked about. One, the CDL case between January 25th and January 30th, 2024, okay? Then another federal grand jury that was, quote, active in February of 2024, but now closed. And then at least 2 other matters, at least. It was wild. I heard it verbatim. There's transcripts. We'll get them. It was a day, folks. If you were not in that federal courthouse today, you missed the beginning of what could quickly become one of the biggest stories anyone has ever covered in the state. I'm going to wear my I told you so face a lot over the next few months and years, okay? I'm not going to be pompous about this. I'm going to give the people who were hurt the most. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about. I'm not Kate Peter. I don't want a fucking documentary about me. No, fuck you. I don't want it. I will turn you down. I will tell you not to do it. I want a documentary to be made about the victims and their families that were impacted by this. We don't need a Charlotte of the fucking internet, okay? It was the people who were hurt. They can tell their own story, and God help those Netflix producers if they try to go with Kate Peter as the Charlotte of the internet, and then she gets federally indicted for leaking Lindsay Catani's phone extraction with Brian Tully and Jason Broyles. All right? Enough of this bullshit. Just platform the people who were directly hurt. Cut out these fucking middlemen and AR and these people who try to manage all these networks of people. It's fucking bullshit. This is all happening because you're enabling them, some of you in the media. Just talk directly to the fucking people who were harmed. When Kate Peter says, no, you can't talk to them, say, are you lying to me? Trust but verify. Find out if she's lying to you about whether or not the people actually want to talk. Okay? Some of my colleagues have done a very bad job and have enabled some really bad people. And yes, I'm looking at you, Gretchen Voss. Love you dearly, but come on. Hitch your wagon to the wrong horse. And I don't give a fuck about me. I don't want to be in your fucking documentary. I want you to give a voice to the people that were harmed and stop enabling Kate Peter because she has blackmail. That's fucking ridiculous. This is adult journalism. We are the backbone and guardian of the integrity of the American Republic. Fuck Kate Peter. Now, Shelley Murphy is the GOAT, says Tanya. If she's on this story, it's already big. She's the OG Whitey Bulger reporter. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, Lisa, let me just add, you are such a wonderful friend. I have added you, Lisa C., to the Towel Channel Blue Wall of Justice. You can't really do anything, but welcome to the Towel Blue Wall of Justice. Shelley Murphy's story is up, ladies and gentlemen. So let me grab Shelley Murphy's story. Let's hear how Shelley Murphy reported, and I shall be the judge. Jack D65 says he's going to make a documentary about me and my towelness. Oh, manliness. Well, towelness counts too. All right, let me get this Globe story for you. Hold on. I don't pay for the Globe anymore. Maybe I'll get it again. I like some of the people at the Globe. I just don't like what they did to Dan Adams. But then again, I don't like what Dan Adams did to me over that one story. So, I don't know. Dan Adams didn't like my coverage of this story out about something out in Athol where some guy was like screaming in a parking lot. He owned a dispensary. I was like, Dan, I cannot control the fact that people do stupid things and post them on Instagram. It's newsy. Yeah, but hey, and I was like, Dan, I went to bat for you with the Boston Globe. I canceled my subscription. Fine, I'm going to subscribe to the Boston Globe again because of Shelley Murphy. You hear that, Boston Globe? You have won me over somehow. You have gotten me to pay for your service because of Shelley Murphy. I should object on principle to do this. I should just object. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do it, though. I can't help myself. All right, I'm going to get you the Boston Globe article. I'm going to pay for it. Oh, God. You know how much it costs? It costs $1 for 26 weeks. I guess that's somewhat reasonable. Don't worry, Jack D65. I'm paying for the damn thing. It's worth it. Towel loves you all. I shall pay for this. All right, hold on one second here. All right, there we go. Well, let me do this. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, and then let me put this thing in. All right, hold on. I have done it. I've done it. I have started. I've done it. Okay, now I should be able to open the link. Okay, everybody ready? I now belong to the Boston Globe. They have taken my money. I already subscribed. I demand you give me my Boston Globe. I paid for this, God damn it. Sorry, I shouldn't have cussed. It's there! Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Shelley Murphy led. Shelley Murphy led exactly as she should have. Oh, God, wait to see this. Oh, it's as glorious as you can imagine. Oh, Towel loves America. First of all, somebody tell the Boston Globe I reactivated my subscription because of Shelley Murphy and other unnamed parties. They will be thrilled. They will be absolutely thrilled, ladies and gentlemen. They will be thrilled. Oh, look at that. I have the Boston Globe. No, I don't want your notifications. Don't bother me. I have enough notifications. All right. I have the article. I am a towel. Everybody ready? I'm a towel. Now, I was there in court with Shelley Murphy. So I'm not reading this as Shelley Murphy's reporting, although I'm going to do that too. I'm reading it to analyze whether she was right. Oh, they used a devil horn picture. Oh, it's glorious. Karen, fuck your civil suit. That's going to lead tomorrow, bruh. You devil-horned woman. You devil woman, you. Look at the devil woman. Look at her. Karen, you think you're so innocent. Listen, maybe if Karen, in my opinion, this is just me, maybe if Karen had been a little kinder to Lindsay when I asked her to in April of 2024, or May, or June, or July, I don't remember the exact date, maybe I would have some sympathy for the devil woman. You understand, you could have got some sympathy from me. Never was going to be free Karen Reed, you understand that. But you would have got some sympathy from me. Nope, now I think you're a devil woman. Made the bad choice. Aiden's an idiot. I am a towel. Now, I may think you're guilty of killing John O'Keefe, but don't you want me on your side compared to Aiden? I mean, he's a moron. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure Brian Tully's like, oh, well, I fucked up too. Well, yeah, you're a bit of a moron, but you're not a devil woman. Karen Reed is a devil woman. You understand? So the front page, I'm sure, of the Boston Globe tomorrow is going to be the devil woman. All right? Look at the devil woman. She's a devil woman. All right? Now, I am in a mood. You might be saying to yourself, Towel, you are in a mood. I am in a mood. And you might also be saying to yourself, Towel, does this happen often? Yes. On days when I break the biggest story in the entire world, I'm in a mood. Now, it's not about me. Okay, but I'm just pleased that the Boston Globe is going to run a story tomorrow morning with the devil woman's picture doing the devil woman thing. Taterbug has declared Karen a commie. All right, Karen's going to hate this because I think she's kind of a commie. You know, she talks a lot about how she hates the police. So we're going to do a formal towel poll, okay? I need you all to help me. Is Karen Reed a damn commie? Yes, clearly, I hate commies. No, also, I love commies. Okay, how many of you are willing to admit you love communists to defend Karen Reed? That is not how you spell commies or love, Grant. Love has an O in it, and commies does not have a K. All right, there you go. Vote away. The question is, hello, Ola. It's great to see you. Is Karen Reed a damn commie? A lot of people say yes, clearly, I hate commies. Some people have said no, also, I love commies. Well, what the hell are you doing here if you love commies? This is America. I don't love the commies. All right, what are you doing here, you damn commies? All right, here's Shelley Murphy's article. Look at that devil woman. Look at her. She's a devil woman. Damn devil woman. She probably watches this and she's like, what the fuck is wrong with him and why do people watch this? Well, you know what? I get to troll people. I'm a tap. All right, a Drake-it woman who sat on a federal grand, this is by Shelley Murphy, a Drake-it woman who sat on a federal grand jury that investigated the state's handling of Karen Reed's murder case and an unrelated Massachusetts State Police scandal admitted Monday that she had leaked secret information about both high-profile cases. It's actually more than both, but there you go. Boston Globe, Towel wins. Everybody, look at it. I have won. I have won. I have won. I was right. I have won. Ladies and gentlemen, please let it be known around the internet, Turtle Boy was wrong. Towel was right. Towel was right. Towel was right. Turtle Boy, I would just like to let you know I was right. You were wrong. J.M. Lawrence was wrong. I was right. I am a towel. You are not a towel. You see what I'm saying? Towel. You are not a towel. I am a towel. You are wrong and not a towel. J.M. Lawrence, you are not a towel. You tried to mess with federal court by reporting incorrect things, and then Shelley Murphy owned you and me. I'm sure Note My Objection is going to own you too. It's a phrase, you know, you get owned. It's actually pwned, but we're going to go with owned because I think she was a little older, you know. She was like 31 or something. Anyway, was it worth $1? Yes, it was worth $1. This was absolutely worth $1. This is the greatest thing. Oh my goodness, I'm such a happy little towel. Hold on, I'm going to try to make the wording a little bit bigger for you. Oh, this is great. Turtle Boy's going to have an apoplectic meltdown. He's going to go into hiding and never come out again. He's going to freak the fuck out. It's going to be hilarious. Fuck Kate Peter, too. You don't understand. The next 4 to 6 months, maybe even years, is just going to be me laughing at all of them. Like where every time something new happens, I'm going to laugh. It's going to be great. They're going to go to federal prison. I'm going to laugh. It's going to be great. They're going to cry going to federal prison. I'm not going to laugh then. I'm going to respect the judge. Then I'm going to go outside, and then I'm going to laugh because they thought they were going to get away with it, and they said terrible things about me and the people I love, and I don't like that. So I'm not going to have anything to do with them getting in trouble. You know, I'm just a reporter. But I can absolutely giggle when bad things happen to bad people. It's a sign of catharsis, okay? It's a Miss Havisham moment, all right? I didn't get left at the altar. My faith in the justice system got left at the feet of Kate Peter, Brian Tully, and Jason Broyles, and then I got mad. You know? First you get mad, then you get even, then you laugh, then you become a towel. Something along those lines. Now, it's not mad gratuitously. I don't get emotionally mad. Well, I am autistic, so that happens from time to time. I'm working on it. I don't get mad. I get... My sense of justice gets offended. And then I'm like, what the fuck? That's not anger. It's righteous vengeance. And I shall rain it down upon you fucking assholes. I don't want to do this. I would be happy covering. Do you understand? I would love to cover the Cannabis Control Commission. I would like to just do that. Those are bad people. I would be perfectly happy. But then Karen Reed has to go and do dumb shit with Aiden Kearney, and I got to fucking dedicate 10 years of my fucking life because all these evil people look at the vulnerable as playthings. I guess that's kind of what's happening with the CCC too. But if they just didn't do that, I wouldn't have to be involved. So I'm kind of a little upset, both at the principle of what they did, and also the fact that they were so manipulative that it required me getting involved. I don't like to get involved. I would like to go to the park. I would like to sit in a villa and smoke a cigar and listen to an evening in Roma. You know what I don't want to do? Get so knee deep in this fucking shit that it requires untangling it with the most complex federal probe I've ever seen. I take no pleasure in that. But I will giggle if Brian Tully, Kate Peter, Jason Broyles, and others go to federal prison, because that will be my moment of catharsis, and you cannot stop me from giggling. I'm a little towel. Now, we're going to read this article, but first, oh, come on, you guys are commenting so fast that you've overwhelmed Towel Computer. Come on, Towel Computer, you can do it. They all have faith in you. You can do it, Towel Computer. You can do it. While the Towel comments are still loading, let's read the article. All right. I'm doing my little towel thing. What is upsetting Towel Computer? Hold on here. It's the Globe site. All right, you got too many ads on your site, Globe. Way too many ads. There we go. If I'm paying and your site has that many ads, we have a problem. All right? If I'm paying and your ads are slowing my computer down, we have a problem. All right, let's keep reading. Jessica Leslie, 34, pleaded guilty in federal court in Boston to criminal contempt. As part of a plea deal, the government and defense agreed to recommend she be sentenced to 1 day deemed served, meaning she will not spend any time in prison if the judge accepts the recommendation. U.S. District Judge Indria Talwani scheduled sentencing on September 26. If the judge rejects the sentencing recommendation, Leslie may withdraw her plea. She got that wrong. Judge Talwani already rejected it. Okay? Like, I heard it. Judge Talwani openly said, I'm not inclined to accept this disposition. And she was pissed when she said it. All right? I was there. I know what happened. I'm a towel. All right? 1 second. All right. We're going to keep reading. But she got that part wrong. She got the first part right. She got that second part wrong. Now, she didn't get it wrong. She's right in the sense that, so Shelley Murphy is right, factually, that there is a sentencing hearing on September 26th at 3 p.m. Shelley Murphy is right, factually, that Judge Talwani can reject the disposition that day. Okay? Maybe she'll cover it later, but what Shelley Murphy missed in the lead, which is very important, is that Judge Talwani said she was provisionally not inclined to accept the disposition, and that she'd review some of the impounded files, which are only going to hurt Jessica Leslie, not help. Assistant U.S. Attorney Ann Prouty, I was there, said in court Monday the FBI launched an investigation that ultimately led to Leslie after a woman posted detailed information on X, formerly Twitter, on January 26, 2024 about a sweeping federal indictment that was still under seal. That was the CDL case. Investigators suspected a grand jury leak because the social media post included a litany of the charges contained in the indictment that was unsealed 4 days later after the arrest of 6 people, she said. Though Prouty didn't identify the defendants, she was referring to a highly publicized case involving allegations that state police troopers rigged commercial driver's license tests in exchange for bribes. Correct. Prouty said the same grand jury, which Leslie was seated on, convened on February 1st, 2024 to hear evidence in an unrelated investigation that is no longer active. She did not specify the nature of that investigation. However, the Boston Globe has previously reported that 2 people familiar with the allegations confirmed the grand jury was hearing evidence about the state prosecution of Reed, who was acquitted by a jury in June of killing her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, in 2022. Boom. You want to hear, how much more do you want to hear? You got it from the prosecutor in all but name. You got it from Shelley Murphy in the Globe sources. This is it. This is the story. It's time to go. The networks need to get ready for this. It's not going to happen immediately, but none of the networks are ready for this. Now they're going to be ready. They're going to read this in the Globe, every freaking network. The Karen civil suit is not going to be the story. Do you understand? Every network's going to read the Globe. Every network's about to go apoplectic. I'm shocked they're not freaking the fuck out right now. In fact, I'm not going to be surprised if on the 7 o'clock news, they're just picking this up. They're going to figure it out. Like the Globe just ran this. You don't understand. The Globe is the paper of record. As soon as they run it, Court TV, CNN, New York Times, the AP, all of the wires get it. They got it right away when Shelley Murphy flashed this. She didn't actually use a flash, but I would have if I ran a wire service. This is a big deal because Shelley Murphy was waiting, in my opinion, for that prosecutor to say that line in court, to drop this story. This is the story of a century. Now, listen, I'm not going to compete, with Shelley Murphy. She's going to be in everything, and she should be. She's on this for a reason. She's a great reporter. She has tenure on me by 40 years. I'm going to defer to her on everything, okay? I don't play that game. I'm not looking for credit. I don't care. You have to understand this. It's not going to go play out that way. Little Towel's going to just be a small little footnote in this larger sea. But I do want to point out that as soon as Shelley Murphy runs this, which she did, it's already run, as soon as this goes to print, every single person that's been involved in this is going to realize that, Little Towel was right. Okay? Now, I don't care about that much. I don't need a documentary. I don't want one. Okay? But what is important to me is that those of you who were manipulated, some of you who I love dearly, by Kate Peter or Broyles or Aiden or whoever the fuck, I don't care. Okay? You're going to realize, oh my God, I know a lot of you believed in me the whole time, but those of you who are still on the fence are going to realize it's just starting. It's not just this I was right about, I was right about it all. Okay? And it's going to get really, really, really brutal juridically for some of these people. It's a big deal. It's just starting. It leads into a whole nexus, a whole web of overlapping concentric social circles of influence that in different ways could bring down very powerful parts of the Democratic establishment. And that's exactly what this DOJ, in my opinion, at the top levels wants to do. Rightfully so. Well, these Dems, especially Democrats, especially in states where they have supermajority control or a trifecta, the governorship, both houses of the legislature, they run rampant. They abuse the U.S. Attorney's Office in this case, and somebody's got to do something about it, and this is the perfect time to do something about it politically. Sucks that that's how it takes, but did you think Democrats running the U.S. Attorney's Office were ever going to hold Democrats accountable? No. Maybe if there's Democrats they want to target, they would, like with Morrissey, but it was always going to be very tightly convened, tightly wrapped up if presented. If they covered Birchmore at all, that liberal DOJ, it was going to be tightly presented, and that's what they did. They didn't take down the whole establishment. They could have. That's what this is really about. People have to see the listen. So Tanya just put it all together. I have not, and I want to be clear. I would tell you, unlike some other people, if Hank Brennan even so much responded to my email thanking him for being such a super towel. Okay? He didn't. Never called me. I left him a voicemail. Never responded to me. He has no obligation to do so. But let me just tell you, there's something going on. All right? Hank Brennan's never spoken to me, so I cannot say I agree with Tanya because I know it to be fact. But when Tanya says it just hit her that Shelley Murphy must have Hank Brennan as a source because they go way back, like pre-Bulge, pre-Whitey, and Hank and Leah Foley also probably go way back. I think we realized who was the mastermind here. The only thing Hank Brennan has ever said to me is that I can call him Hank. Okay? Why would a man who has never talked to me, ever, never, I know you could read my reporting on the Reed case and be like, oh yeah, Grant really supports Hank, so Hank would like Grant. Bullshit. there's a few reporters who were as good, like John DePietro, etc., as me, and supported the prosecution's theory of the case, which I believe to be the truth. No. That man looked at me and said that. I fully believe in my soul, because he was saying, I understand who you are, I understand what you are, and you're right. And when he did that, he put me on this path where I was like, well, fuck it. If he supports me, then fuck Kate Peter and Brian Tully. Fuck them. Like, if Hank Brennan was willing to do that on the courthouse steps, that was the moment where I was like, oh, yeah, we can get these people. And I was kind of begging him. Like, I never said it, but if you read my posts, I was like, Hank, come on. You can't do this to Lindsay. That's basically the tone of my posts over like 12 months. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You are going to stand up there and proclaim yourself to be this guardian of the vulnerable and the justice system against this egregious wrong, and you're going to let these people working for you do this stuff. And then I heard him stand up in court one day, and I believed him. I heard something in his tone when Hank Brennan said a very specific sentence during one of the Reed case motion hearings. I listened to everything, obviously. But he said one time, I want to say it was like in March of 2025, maybe March to May, he stood up there and he said, it was right when I was hitting him hard. I had, like on the stream maybe a week before, maybe a day before or two, I had said, Mr. Brennan, like, you claim to be a guardian of the vulnerable. You claim to care about the vulnerable. Oh, don't get me wrong. I think Karen knew this was coming today, and she's trying to drop a civil suit to deflect. It won't take the headlines. It won't. It was a tactic. She tried to time it today. She couldn't get ahead of it. Nobody will cover it. Hold on. I got myself. See, you got me all distracted there. I have to remember what I was talking about now. Hold on. I have a replay. She tried to time it today. Hold on. When Hank Brennan said very specific. Okay, so when Hank Brennan, see, I can just watch my own replay. When Hank Brennan said that sentence in court, when he said a very specific way. He said, I do. When I see it happen, misconduct, even on my own side, I do call it out. I do. And he wasn't like, I think Judge Cannoni thought his tone was a little weird because, like, Judge Cannoni never accused him of not doing that. So he was talking to her in a motion hearing. So she was just kind of like quizzical. She was like, what are you saying? I didn't accuse you of doing that. I know what he was doing. He was talking to me, not tooting my own horn. He was saying to me, he was imploring to me, and I could hear it in his voice, the tone of his voice. I'm like, I do, trust me. Like, I'm not going to let this go unnoticed. I will do something about it. And I was talking about Lindsay's phone at the time and what Aiden was getting away with. I was talking about a lot, Broyles, Kate, Tully. I was talking about it all. And I heard in his tone, and he could only have been referring to Tully and Fanning and Yuri and those guys because he was talking about his own people. He said, I do call it out when I see it. I do. And he said, I do in this, like, he was almost like crying. It was like, you got to believe me. And I know that if that's how I were acting, that's what I would say. I would say, like, just like, I wouldn't say it. I would express it with a tone that was authentic because I couldn't control myself because I'm that authentic. And I heard it. He didn't have to lay it out for me. He didn't have to say it explicitly. I don't need that. He would never do that. It was in an open court setting. But I understood what he was saying, which was, if these people did wrong, Grant, and you were right, then we will hold them accountable. All right. That's all you have to tell me, Hank. Good enough for me. So I just went with that. You know, I never got it confirmed, but I was just like, okay, I can do that. And I did it, you know. I figure, like, Hank, kind of my guardian angel in this whole thing. He just kind of, he knows I'm a little bit of a towel. I'm on the spectrum a little bit. So I'm kind of a moron sometimes, like, emotionally and executive function-wise. But I think Hank kind of keeps an eye out on Little Towel. He never said it, never talked to me, but I just get the sense he just keeps an eye on me. Nobody fuck with that towel. But yeah, so let me just be clear. I do believe that Karen Reed knew that this shit was going to hit the fan. Now, just be clear. The Globe's not going to run. Like, maybe they'll drop us like an article about Karen Reed's civil suit. But Karen timed this. She knew. She knew. She's not dumb. She's bad at PR. She's playing defense now. But she's got the best PR team in the country, and she did the one thing. It's desperate. It's not going to work. But she did the one thing that I would do if I knew this was coming. I would drop something to take the headline. But you fucked up, Karen. You can't take this headline. You fucking kidding me? AP is going to pick this up. Every outlet is going to realize, like Shelley Murphy did not write about your civil suit, Karen. Bro, nobody's writing about your civil suit. I'm sorry to the O'Keefe family. Nobody's even writing about that. Like, we're writing about this, all of us. I know because I talk to my colleagues. I know what we're writing about. I know what we're planning on writing about for like the next 4 years. It's this. It's not the civil suit. Nobody is going to cover that. So what do you want to do? Like, what are you going to do? Send Ted Daniel down there by himself? Hi, I'm Ted Daniel standing alone on a lawn. Here's Karen Reed. Oh, Julie. Okay, so first of all, I just want to thank Julie, craziest person on earth. So when Julie said, hi, I'm Julie, craziest person on earth, at first I was like, wait, are you telling me you're the craziest person on earth? And she was like, no, I'm from the chat. And then I was like, oh, goodness, hello. Then I looked at her and was like, are you a Kate Peter person? I was like, I have my guard up right now. This moment. Julie, craziest person. Oh, I can't wait to see that. Take a look at this in 1 second. Now, Lisa, Julie, craziest person on earth, can attest to this. Not only did Julie, craziest person on earth, help film this video, which we're going to watch right now because Julie, craziest person on earth, filmed it, but Julie, craziest person on earth, can attest. People do not believe me. You don't understand. We were just standing there. A random person comes up to Towel and was like, hi, are you Grant? And I was like, hi, I'm Grant Smith Ellis. And she was like, oh, I live, around here. And by the way, I read all your coverage. I was like, oh, that's so nice. And then we talked a little bit, and she asked for updates, and I told her, it was just a person on the street, and it was a nice woman. And I said, oh, here's what happened in court. I did like a news broadcast for her in person because she was saying hello. So I was like, here's what happened. Here's the details. Here's what I think's going to happen. Oh, definitely come back September 26th around 3 p.m., come say hello. It was nice. But Julie, craziest person on earth, can attest that a random person on the street, because I was standing in front of federal court, came up and said, hello, I want to introduce myself. I'm a fan of your work. My name is, I forget what her name was. It's good to meet you. And I said, I'm a little Temple. You don't understand. That was so wonderful. And Julie saw, and Julie was like, wait, that actually does happen to you? And I was like, yes, and now you can be my witness. Oh, goodness, it was such a moment. Now, let us watch, before we continue this, reading this article, can we please watch the clip that Julie, craziest person on earth, helped film? She has a future in the industry as a camera person. Did you know Julie even got like tips from the professional cameramen from the news as they were doing this? Because Julie can also attest that the news reporters then were like, that guy just sounds like he should be on court TV. As I use my cough button appropriately. But yes, let me show you this video that Julie filmed. She is an excellent photographer. This is Julie, craziest person on earth. 20,000 views, Julie. Good job. That is excellent. 20,000 views on one tweet in 2 hours. That'll be at like 200,000 views in 24 hours. That like puts a lot of my colleagues to shame. They try to get like 1,000 to 5,000 views on their articles. I'm not saying it puts them to shame. I'm just saying, good job, Julie. You clearly have a future as a professional camera woman. All right, now let me see here. I think this is it. Yep, this is it. Julie, are you ready for your moment in the sun? Full screen Towel incoming. Here we go. All right, I am a Towel, and this was my report. Take it away, Towel. Good afternoon. My name is Grant Smith Ellis. It's just past 3:30 p.m. here at the John J. Moakley Federal Courthouse in Boston, where a stunning series of developments has just unfolded related to grand juror leaker Jessica Leslie. Jessica Leslie was scheduled to tender her plea agreement with U.S. prosecutors from the Department of Justice today related to a mysterious series of leaks between August of 2022 and early 2024. And the very first thing we found out, folks, was that Judge Talwani accepted Leslie's guilty plea, but rejected the proposed disposition by federal prosecutors. The proposed disposition of 1 day in jail time served, 24 months supervised release and no fine, and $100 special assessment was initially and provisionally rejected by Judge Talwani. As a result of that rejection, Judge Talwani did accept the guilty plea and set sentencing for September 26, 2025 at 3 p.m. in the John J. Moakley Courthouse behind me. Now, Jessica Leslie has the right to withdraw her guilty plea as a result of that disposition being rejected. But the big news of the day was most certainly that Jessica Leslie not only admitted to FBI agents and in open court to leaking information from the Massachusetts State Trooper CDL scandal between January 25th and January 30th of 2025, but she admitted as well after those indictments came down to leaking information about, quote, an investigation that was running in February of 2024 pursuant by the DOJ, but is now closed. Now, the words John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case were not said, folks, but it was clear as one of the 4 reporters in the courtroom that that was exactly what was being discussed. Leslie leaked about the CDL case. She leaked about the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case, and then the U.S. attorney, the assistant U.S. attorney, indicated that Leslie leaked about 2 other unrelated investigations as well. As a result of all of that information being disclosed, the assistant U.S. attorney informed Judge Talwani she would file an impounded pre-sentencing report, including a full description of the information that Judge Talwani would get about the leaks by Ms. Leslie. You could see, ladies and gentlemen, in Judge Talwani's eyes, the furor with this recommended disposition. There was no statement on the record from the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding substantial cooperation, or what's called a 501k motion. And you could see as a result of that Judge Talwani was not comfortable accepting a disposition regarding grand juror leaks from at least 4 different cases in the amount of 1 day in jail time served and 24 months supervised release. Where this leaves this case, ladies and gentlemen, is anyone's guess. What we know right now is firm. September 26, 2025, 3 p.m. in front of Judge Talwani, sentencing. Will that date be moved? Will Leslie withdraw her guilty plea? This woman could now be facing time in prison. What exactly is the nature of the February 2024 investigation that is now closed that Leslie leaked about, and who did she leak to? We know that this grand jury was impaneled on May 26, 2022, and Leslie started leaking for the first time in August of 2022. That is precisely the same month that Alan Jackson joined Karen Reed's legal team. More to come, more investigations, more targets. My name's Grant Smith-Ellis, reporting live from outside the John J. Moakley Courthouse. I'll have more as I know it.
Very nice.
Hey, that was great, Julie, craziest person on earth. And also it's very on the fly. We actually did 2 recordings because I tried to use my headphone mic at first and it didn't work. So then we did a second cut and it was pretty good. Now, if you're just tuning in, there was obviously a large amount of breaking news today, and I have some news right here that I want to share with you you all as well. Now, this is a case that was just found by our wonderful Super Towel. Hold on, let me be clear. Who found the link? It was Tanya, one of the greatest Super Towels on the history of the earth as Super Towel. We have found a connection, thanks to Tanya, between Hank Brennan and Leah Foley. Now, you might be saying, is it possible that Hank Brennan and Leah Foley, had known each other prior to, the start of the Karen Reed case? Well, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Tanya has found us evidence of that in this wonderful little case, which is USV 717E980. What? Oh my God. Oh my God. Do you realize what you have found? Do you realize what you have found? Oh my God. Do you realize what this is? Tanya, my dear friend, let's do the recording. Hello. Hello, folks. If you're just tuning in, my name's Grant Smith Ellis. Now, there have been a lot of developments today about Jessica Leslie, the grand juror leaker in the context of the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case, along with the Massachusetts CDL trooper case and two other yet unnamed federal investigations, attempting to plead guilty, having that guilty plea accepted by federal Judge Talwani in the Moakley Courthouse in Boston. But Judge Talwani went on to then provisionally reject the recommended disposition by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the case, which would have been 1 day time served, 24-month supervised release, no fine, $100 special assessment. But folks, you might be saying to yourself, Grant, that's not what you're making a clip about right now. That seems to be some weird anonymized case, USA v. C17E980 from 2019. Now, Grant, do you see in this case that U.S. Attorney Leah Foley used to work as a prosecutor at that office and represented the U.S. Attorney's Office against two anonymized defendants? That's a little weird, right? They're anonymized defendants, one of whom was represented by none other than Henry B. Brennan. How interesting is that? Hank Brennan, Leah Foley may have just put together the widest, greatest federal investigation of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, I fully believe that the cover-up of Lindsay Gattani's phone, or the leak of Lindsay Gattani's phone by Brian Tully State Police Unit, the leak of information by Jessica Leslie related to multiple different probes, the cover-up of Sandra Birchmore's murder by Brian Tully State Police Unit, and leaks by the former U.S. Attorney's Office run by Josh Levy and Rachel Rollins, along with Deb Goldberg and Rachel Rollins and Sean Collins trying to force Shannon O'Brien out of office at the Cannabis Control Commission for O'Brien's attempts to reform the agency and expose corruption, graft, abuse, and misconduct, are at the center of the widest public corruption probe I think the United States has ever seen. And I'm almost certain that there's another element to this probe that I have reason to believe exists that I'm not going to talk about because I want those people to go down, that would make this even bigger. Okay? And I know where this is going in my heart of hearts. It's the biggest story we've ever seen. And I'll tell you right now, you can see it up on the chart there, it all traces back to U.S. Attorney Leah Foley, Hank Brennan, Reagan Communications, and the greatest sting of all time. I even think Hank Brennan and Leah Foley had a discussion, potentially, about getting Brian Tully and that state police unit, along with Karen Reed and Aidan Kearney. I think they wanted to get them all. I think initially it was just for Birchmore's cover-up, and then for Aidan and Karen and the grand juror leaks, and what Aidan did to the witnesses and Karen. But then I think it expanded, and they went after Tully's unit for Lindsay's phone as well. And it all traces back. I told you they were the adults in the room. If you look at my chart, up at the very top, I'll put it up on the screen again. I told you, Leah Foley, U.S. Attorney Leah Foley, and Hank Brennan are the adults in the room. And thanks to Tanya Towell, we now have the evidence to prove it. My name's Grant Smith Ellis. I'm going to go back to streaming, but there's the clip. See, Tanya, I can do a clip like that in real time. I have so much fun. Now, I'm a little towel, and I admire Sunken Grave because Sunken Grave is the greatest soap dispenser in the history of towels. Sunken Grave said, Sunken Grave is a towel. You don't want to mess with Sunken Grave, he's a towel. Just ask Ed the Zebra about Sunken Grave, and ask Sunken Grave what happens when Sunken Grave's neighbor causes problems. We call Ed the Zebra, Sunken Grave starts power washing, the world collapses. You know what I'm saying? Must be cathartic. And I just want to thank a lot of you all on this stream. Can we have a moment of towel thanks? I want to thank you all for believing in Little Towel. I want to thank you all for believing in Lindsay. So many, now, you obviously know I'm very protective of Little Towel, but you're also all very protective of Lindsay. And I just want to thank you all for believing in me. Okay, I can't speak on behalf of Lindsay, so she probably wants to thank you too. I don't know, you'll have to ask her. But let me just tell you, God bless you. Thank you for believing in me. It means a lot to me. I committed myself to this because so many of you all authentically were willing to say, I'm going to believe in this little town. And so I, in turn, wanted to believe in you all. So this work, this vocation, this passion, this commitment, what's coming, I'm a small part of it, but just know the small part that I played was out of commitment to you all. I told you I wouldn't let you down. I committed myself to this, and thank you for believing in me. And more importantly, I committed myself to trying to stop the cycle of torment that was happening to vulnerable people in light of a justice system that was being weaponized against them instead of in the service of helping them. All right? So, you know, I don't know. I guess like it feels a little weird, but I guess we're here. I didn't really expect it to ever happen. I just kind of yelled. So I guess I should kind of know this is going to happen after doing it a bunch of times. Like sometimes I just yell really loudly about something, not actually loudly. I just report on something because I really know something's wrong and I want someone to do something about it. Like I'm not the government, I'm a reporter. And so I don't like get aggressive, but I just cover something until people do something. Like I will find out the facts, I'll build the case for you, basically, you take care of it. That's what reporters do. So, you know, I don't know. I think sometimes I just get so into it, I'm like, oh, this is going to go on forever. No one's ever going to believe me. But I should know by now there have been multiple stories, like where the legislature, the OIG, the auditor, like they take my stories and then they action them. So I should know by now that people do things about my stories. But I never thought in a million fucking years that anyone was ever going to do anything about this. I thought that poor girl, Lindsay Catani, was going to suffer for the rest of her fucking life because of Brian Tully, Kate Peter, and Jason Broyles. I never thought we'd get to the point where everything would align where someone would be able to help her. Now, I'm really glad that the people who leaked this information, etc., are going to be held accountable. But I cannot put into words to you how much it hurt me to watch the justice system do that to Lindsay. It was the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It made me so angry. It made me almost as angry as what I was finding at the CCC with that guy Cedric Sinclair and what he did to some of those women there, in my opinion, and how he covered it up, and how the political forces that be tried to cover it up. I got so incredulous, not just because of what happened, but because I didn't think anyone was going to do anything. I thought it was the state police and God. And I thought that old DOJ was so intent on maneuvering things around to make it sort of, the chips had to land a certain way with Levy and Rollins and all they did in order for it to not come out. I don't think anyone expected President Trump to win in November. They tried to kill the president. You got to remember this. They tried to shoot him. So I don't think anyone thought he was going to win. I think the intelligence community expected him to be dead. All right, so when he won, I think that changed everything. I think Hank Brennan was the person who realized, listen, it's not going to be, maybe, I'm starting to think that that's why I have Morrissey as a potential cooperator, because Kate Peter has been, threatening Michael Morrissey on Twitter, and that tipped me off that the only reason she would do that is if Morrissey and Brennan made a deal. Brennan was the negotiator. Brennan was really Morrissey's lawyer to negotiate with the feds. I think that's what it really was. And so what Hank did was he likely, although I can't confirm it, this is my opinion, I think he went to Leah Foley and was like, listen, Morrissey will give up his guys on the Birchmore thing. Sure. Why not? Just help us get Aiden and Karen. And I think Leah Foley was like, oh, were Josh Levy involved? Was Josh Levy and Karen Rachel Rollins involved in leaking to Karen and Turtle Boy? Yep. Oh, those are two big liberals. All right, we can do that. So you get Morrissey, and I've heard reports that Morrissey proffered a long time ago. I heard from pretty good sources too. No one in the DOJ, but good sources in that world, that Morrissey proffered. And I didn't really get it at the time. I was like, what the fuck do you mean they proffered? When does he have to fucking proffer? He didn't do anything. I didn't think Morrissey actually did anything. It was his guys, and I was like, oh, that's what he proffered. He just gave up his guys, and that's why they're all gone. I think Brian Tully got removed from his post because of Michael Proctor's text messages. Fuck them. You think every single person in that unit is just gone except for John Fanning? For no reason? Because of Michael Proctor's text messages? No. Morrissey gave them up, in my opinion. And I think Nick Garino gave them all up too, but that's just my opinion. frankly, I'm a little worried they tried to kill Nick Garino. I'm not really sure that drunk driving accident was a drunk driving accident. He was doing a detail on the bike, and a drunk driver hit him. A little fucked up. I'm not really sure that was an accident. It's weird, okay? Anyway, Nick Garino lived, so I hope they're protecting him, the feds. But Nick Garino, I don't necessarily know if he did things wrong. I think they just kind of made him do bad things in the Birchmore case and in the Lindsay case. But I just never thought that we would get here. These people were so powerful. It was incredibly dangerous. And I realized they didn't do anything necessarily wrong in the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case, but this was dangerous for Massachusetts. It was dangerous for Norfolk County. It was dangerous in other counties as well. They had connections in local police departments, state police, everywhere. They were on joint task forces. These people were dangerous, and I think a lot of them are going to go down. Now, I'm not saying every single person involved in this necessarily, killed people. I think we only have, one or two of those, I hope. But a lot of them were complicit for political and monetary purposes. And that is why there's going to be a lot of catharsis for me, because they also tried to manipulate people who would try to expose them. And then they would try to manipulate public perception of the people who tried to expose them. Well, then you're playing in my realm. You walked right in to the heart of the beast. And I ate all of you alive. And I don't feel bad about it. Because you manipulated my fucking government, which I love dearly, and you tried to manipulate my fucking public sphere, which I love dearly. You made me very upset. And I'm pleased, in some regard, that the victims are going to get justice. I truly believe that. It's coming. And I'm pleased that Karen Reed, I think, will be held accountable in some way, federally or otherwise. Same with Aiden. But I expect them to do shitty things. Do you understand that's why I'm so hurt by this? It's not that I don't think Karen Reed and Aiden Kearney were angels. It's not that I don't think they didn't do bad things. So I do think they did bad things. I expect them to do bad things. Okay? You do bad things. I expect it. I cover it. I try to get it fixed. I expect it. It's still bad, but I expect it. What hurts me more is when people I expect to do good things, or people in positions of public trust that are mandated to do good things, do bad things. Oh, then you really get me riled up. That's exactly what happened here. It's not just that Karen and Aiden did bad things. It's that people in positions of public trust did bad things. And the situation today with Jessica Leslie, the grand juror, is only one component of a larger web. In those leaks about the Karen Reed case, the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case, the CDL case, probably the Birchmore case, and otherwise, whether Leslie realized them or not, were part of a larger political war that, now that someone I think is finally looking into it, may well bring justice. Now, you all have asked for months, years, for justice. But did you really know what you were asking for? I sometimes wonder that. I used to go to bed a lot thinking about that. And I would say to myself, these people, a lot of you, in good faith, are asking for justice, but I'm not sure they're ready for what justice looks like. Because justice doesn't mean you get what you want. That's ridiculous. You may want one thing, which is good, to happen, justice in one micro sense, in one case. But how do you know what justice looks like? And if you saw it naked, bared before you, would you even be able to address it? That's the question that I continue to ask myself. People long for this concept of justice, but I think what they're actually really asking for is meaning in their lives, social relationships, some beacon of hope that the system can work. And I'm not saying that's wrong. It is important. But if you really care about justice, then you cannot have a side. And you cannot be afraid to address the ill, even among people who might agree with you or who might have done good things on a given case. You can't. Or you're not asking for justice, you're asking for self-soothing and comfort in solace in a world gone astray. I don't fault you for it, but I'm just imploring you, if you want justice, understand it might not be very comfortable. Because justice is truth. And there's a reason a lot of people have trouble confronting those kind of truths. It's raw. It will often involve reflecting on very painful exploitation of trust by people you cared about or who you thought cared about you. And will expose you to a side of the world you really wish didn't exist. But that's the only way we can fix it. We must look it in the eye. We must stare into that abyss, and we must be careful not to become monsters ourselves. And let that be our legacy. That we came together, we talked about this, we discussed it cogently until someone did something about it. That's all I wanted to do. That's what ward off usurpation of our representative forms of government by way of cogent discourse means in lay terms, and we have done it. It's not over. It's going to take a long time, but I'm telling you, the walls are falling. It's starting. Makes me a little emotional. Because people are finally listening. Begging people to listen. Begging them. And yes, a lot of them did, But I wish more people out there were like you all wonderful towel friends. This should be our moment. It is, in a lot of ways, our moment. Because it's more than calling a shot. It's predicting the future. All right? And we called, not just one of us, we all called it. We called the shot. And we got it right. Right? And now we're not going to gloat. We're going to use the reality of this situation, and the people who were harmed will take center stage to highlight how this happened and prevent it from ever happening again. There will be no documentaries about me. There will be no flashy headlines. I will fade into the background, and the people who were harmed will take center stage, because that's what unconditional love means. It means fucking nothing if you just say the words. When everything is on the line, when you have the opportunity to exploit a situation, and you don't, that is the measure of true character. Okay? I am happy to throw all that money away. I don't fucking want it. I want it to go all to Lindsay. Okay? I don't want it. I'm happy to throw all the notoriety away. I don't want to give it to her. Okay? Let's center the people who are actually hurt, and let's show people that another way is possible, and that this is what this kind of coverage should have been about to begin with. Anyone who was involved in it for any other reason is morally culpable in what's come about in our criminal justice system. And this is our chance to repent. This is our chance to fix it. And I'm going to lead the way. I earned it. And that's what I've chosen to do with what I've earned. Step into the background. I'll keep doing my work. I don't want any documentaries. I don't want a fucking film. Sorry, Ben Affleck and Mark Wahlberg. I'm sure you're wonderful people. I do not want you to make a film about me. I want you to make it about Lindsay and Sandra Birchmore and the O'Keefe family. That's it. No interviews with Kate Peter. No fucking vultures. Good, well-meaning people who cast no stones and who had every fucking vulture in the universe trying to cut them off from being able to tell their story directly. For profit, for political purposes, for evil purposes, whatever the fuck. Self-interested purposes, clout purposes. And that's what I want. And that's what I'm going to do. Try to stop me. Jack D65 is like, the more you tell me not to make a documentary, I'm going to make it. All right, you and your pathological demand avoidance, Jack D65. The Mass Live article is up. Let's finish the Boston Globe article. Let's go to the Mass Live article. All right, here we go. Let's go to the Boston Globe article first. Hold on a second. All right, now, all right. All right, here we go. Let's keep reading. In court Monday, Prouty, who was the assistant U.S. attorney, said the FBI determined that social media posts about witnesses who testified during the secret proceedings most likely came from a person privy to the investigation. As a result, the FBI obtained search warrants for the phones of the woman who had posted details from the grand jury on X, and Leslie, who admitted during an interview with agents that she was good friends with the woman who made the posts, Prouty said. The cell phone showed the woman exchanged text messages, including some in which Leslie identified witnesses and the substance of their testimony from the two investigations, Prouty said. That's correct. Leslie acknowledged in court Monday that she had been instructed that it was a crime to leak information about the secret grand jury proceeding and had willfully and deliberately violated these instructions by disclosing details to her friend. Are you in fact guilty of the count charged? The judge asked. Yes, Leslie said in a soft voice. In response to questions about her education, Leslie told the judge she had a master's degree in social work. Yeah, she worked for the Department of Department of Child and Family Services, I think. I'm pretty sure they're fucked. I don't know how it happened, but they fucked up. They let this woman work for them. I think she might have done some shit while she was working for them in a non-good way about leaking. And you don't understand. I think a lot of people don't understand that just because one case is going, that doesn't mean they can't just open other cases. If this woman did something bad and then she did other bad things, yeah, she might be able to give people up, but they'll just keep going and find whatever she did. So yeah, she did say she had a social work degree, and I saw in public reporting she worked for DCF for 10 years. It's unclear whether she still works for DCF. I think someone probably needs to contact DCF for comment on this. I don't think it's really possible, in my opinion, for her to continue working for DCF. I mean, she leaked about a federal grand jury. Why wouldn't she leak DCF stuff? That would be my mentality. In a highly unusual move, the U.S. Attorney's Office convened the grand jury to investigate the state's handling of Reed's murder prosecution before the case went to trial. While federal grand jury proceedings are secret by law, details of the probe into the Norfolk DA's prosecution of Reed spilled into public view during state court proceedings. The federal grand jury investigation did not lead to charges against anyone except Leslie, for now. And also it's closed. Well, that part of it. Reed was acquitted in June of second-degree murder, manslaughter by drunk driving and leaving the scene of a crash resulting in death. She was convicted of operating under the influence, a misdemeanor, and sentenced to 1 year probation. It was a second trial for Reed after another jury ended with a mistrial a year ago. Prosecutors allege Reed drunkenly and intentionally backed her SUV into O'Keefe outside the Canton home of Boston police officer Brian Albert after a night of bar hopping and left him to die in a blizzard on January 29, 2022. Her lawyer said she was framed, and then O'Keefe entered the home where he was fatally beaten. Okay, either he never entered the home. All of the data confirms that. And possibly mauled by... No, oh my God, you did not... How dare you? How dare you mention... Oh my God, she mentioned Chloe. Listen. I love Shelley Murphy, but she has just potentially crossed a red line. You can't do that to Chloe. She's running free in the fields with little piggies. How can you do that to Chloe? You're going to put Chloe in the paper... Oh, you don't understand. You don't understand. I'm upset now. You're going to put Chloe in the paper of record? How dare you? How dare you besmirch Chloe? You don't understand. I'm upset now. I'm upset. We're going to look at the Mass Live article, but Shelley Murphy besmirched Chloe Dog. Oh, goodness. Lisa, it was great hanging out with you. You have a great rest of your night, and thank you for being with us. I'm just going to wrap. This is a breaking news stream, so we're going to wrap up with this. We're going to watch the Call Me Hank clip as well, even if Colleen's not here with us. I'm sorry I haven't been looking at the chat. And wait, what's this? What? Oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be the Mass Live article. Oh, I wonder if Lindsay's in this one. Oh, wait a minute. Is this a Mass Live article about the Cosgrove motion? Oh, boy. I covered this the other day, so we're not going to cover this right now. But if you missed it, the state of Massachusetts, in particular the Norfolk DA, through Robert Cosgrove, the special prosecutor in the felony cases involving Aidan Kearney, mostly with named victim Lindsay Gattani, and then I think Chris Albert, Colin Albert, Julie Nagel, some other people are named in the as victims as well in that case. I forget who their names are. But anyway, so as you can see over here, this is an article that just came out. Now, if you've been watching this stream, you knew we did breaking news just 2 days ago. I think it was actually on, was it Friday last? Friday, August 1st, when Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove dropped the motion of all motions in the Aiden Turtleboy Kearney case. Now, in this motion, Cosgrove basically exposed Brian Tully, Jason Broyles, and Kate Peter to Aiden Kearney's benefit, weirdly, leaking Lindsay Gattani's cell phone extraction. And it was bad. It was fucking brutal. And now I hope Jason Broyles gets in Mass Live. That would make me so happy. As a fucking monster. The only thing that would make me more happy is watching Jason Broyles get put in pretrial detention federally. Can we send him to MDC? Please? Please? You don't understand. I know it's not New York, but can we just figure out a little deal where we send Jason Broyles to the Metropolitan Detention Center? Please? That would be such a happy little town. You know? Such a happy little town. Just a little town. You know? Don't do bad things to people I love. The special prosecutor overseeing the witness intimidation cases against the blogger. Listen, I told you, Aiden, the entire media apparatus, we had a summit. All of us. We had a summit. You're only going to be referred to as the blogger from now on. Like, you're never going to be referenced by your colleagues as a journalist. They're always going to call you a blogger. They got really mad at you over those notes, the attempted community notes, and now they're going to keep doubling down just to fuck with you. I told you cannot control the media. You can note them, you can bitch at them all you want. If they want to call you a blogger, they're going to fucking call you a blogger because you are not a journalist, you are not our colleague, you are a fucking Oompa Loompa who disgraces the field, and none of us want you around. So, you know, maybe your followers make you feel better, but your colleagues, I just want to let you know we all view you as lesser than us. So, maybe to your face they'll smile at you because they want an interview. But most of them look down on you. And we do not consider you a colleague. Just want to let you know. I mean, if someone hasn't told you, I should. You know, we had a summit. We didn't actually have a summit. But we may as well have had a summit. I think it cycles, too. So if the Globe calls you a blogger, and then Mass Live calls you a blogger, then the AP is going to call you a blogger, then Agence France Presse is going to call you a blogger, then the BBC is going to call you a blogger. Everybody's going to call you a blogger. It like builds on itself, okay? And then you're only going to be, then editors are only going to be allowed to only allow their staff to refer to you as a blogger. See how it works? Yeah, you definitely made like some very powerful enemies, Mr. Kearney. The special prosecutor overseeing the witness intimidation cases against the blogger, Aiden Kearney, shot back at a request from his lawyer to release sealed documents, writing in a court filing that Kearney has a well-documented history of abusing discovery materials to harass witnesses. Attorneys for Kearney, who goes by Turtleboy online, said at a court appearance last month that many of the sealed documents contain information that could be embarrassing for prosecutors and other officials in Norfolk County. Kearney faces 3 witness intimidation cases for what the prosecutors have described as the harassment of witnesses in the Reed case. Also, he faces charges for illegally recording Lindsay Gattani and witness intimidating her. Hold on. But Robert Cosgrove, the retired judge appointed as a special prosecutor, said releasing the documents turned over during the normal course of discovery would only further Kearney's ongoing harassment campaign. You better get this part about Lindsay's phone right. You don't understand. You're going to get an angry email from me. You don't get this thing about her phone right. In prosecutors' view, Kearney has created a cycle generating discoverable comments. He regularly mocks, smears, or otherwise attacks witnesses. Those witnesses then ask the DA's office to step in. Cosgrove wrote those communications are often then turned over to the defense because they reflect a, quote, bias against Kearney, but more it's like a bias that he hurt them. But Cosgrove argued that the witnesses have every reason to dislike him and no reason to not admit doing so. The credibility of the witnesses and their potential trial is not central to the indictments, Cosgrove wrote, and said the charges are mostly drawn from what Kearney said online. Yep. Now, You better if you don't touch this phone, you're going to get an angry email from me. Now you're going to have to do a whole article about the phone, okay? Okay, Peter can get fucked. The Commonwealth's evidence is largely based on Kearney's own statements and actions, lovingly recorded and broadcast by him for the world to see. These videos speak for themselves. Cosgrove wrote, there can be no serious dispute as to his actions. Whether his actions are free speech across the line is the central issue at the heart of the case, and for the jurors to decide, he said. The communications between the DA's office and witnesses shouldn't be released because they provide Kearney with a roadmap to which his attacks have caused the most pain, and they are grist for further attack. That's right. For the reasons above, the protective order protecting the documents release should stand, Cosgrove wrote. Okay, what about Lindsay Catani's phone? Lawyers for Kearney have also claimed that many of the documents are governed by protective orders in the Reed case. That's only the first part of it. They should now be subject to release. Cosgrove countered the orders in place. In Kearney's case, should stay there because of the orders. In the Reed case, they haven't expired. Cosgrove also claimed that this disclosure of some of the documents could undermine at least one ongoing investigation. It's federal. As a special prosecutor, he said he wasn't aware of all investigations the DA office was pursuing, but could provide the court could prove to the court that there is one in which he is involved. Yeah, what that part meant was not a state prosecution. The particular circumstances of the case amply justify the protective orders it has issued. The court is free to modify its discovery orders at any time, but changes should be narrowly drawn and made when the defense showing a particular need. How are you going to skip the... All right, motherfucker. You're going to get an angry email from me. I mean that in a loving way. All right, who is this? All right. We shall have a discussion as colleagues, a collegial discussion. How are you going to cover that motion, not cover the damn phone? You know what I'm saying? Now, maybe you cover the phone separately. How are you? The motion was about Lindsay Catani's leaked phone. Now, my name's Grant Smith Ellis. This is a breaking news broadcast. It's not a regular stream. We'll talk about this a lot more tomorrow. But one thing we are going to do... Oh, hello, Clerk Monte. I like your username and... Oh, lovingly. That might be a free Karen Reed person. Lovingly. Oh, maybe you were saying that because I said motherfucker and said lovingly. You know what I mean? So I can't tell, though. But either way, very good. Thanks for joining the chat. Let us, if you're just tuning in, let me give you the breakdown of what just went on, and then let us get ready to wrap this up. This is a breaking news stream. Only Grant could call someone a motherfucker in a loving way. That's true. That's also hilarious. You know what I'm saying? I like people who are funny. That Bossy Texas Chick is talented and funny, so Bossy Texas Chick is a boss. All right, now let us watch this video one more time. If you're just tuning in, this is the breaking news. It's all up there on the Twitter. I did my 3-minute report. The camera people said that I should be on Court TV, and then I laughed and said, well, that's kind of funny. And then some random person came up to me on the sidewalk. All right, anyway, let's watch this video, and this is how we'll wrap it up. We're not doing a full stream today. It's a breaking news stream, and I got things I want to do. Like, well, I guess I can talk to you for a little bit more, but I also have other things I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Priorities, ladies and gentlemen. Can a man have his priorities? Well, I'm a towel and a man. I'm an anthropomorphic towel, to be exact. But I have priorities, and I shall exercise those priorities. All right? So, let us turn on the stream. All right, hold on. 1 second. All right, so let us watch this video of Towel Outside the Court. I could have played that first before I sent that, but that's okay. Little Towel. If you missed it, big news. Reporter Towel. Take it away, Reporter Towel. Good afternoon. My name is Grant Smith Ellis. It's just past 3:30 p.m. here at the John J. Moakley Federal Courthouse in Boston, where a stunning series of developments has just unfolded related to grand juror leaker Jessica Leslie. Jessica Leslie was scheduled to tender her plea agreement with U.S. prosecutors from the Department of Justice today related to a mysterious series of leaks between August of 2022 and early 2024. And the very first thing we found out, folks, was that Judge Talwani accepted Leslie's guilty plea, but rejected the proposed disposition by federal prosecutors. The proposed disposition of 1 day in jail time served, 24 months supervised release and no fine, and $100 special assessment was initially and provisionally rejected by Judge Talwani. As a result of that rejection, Judge Talwani did accept the guilty plea and set sentencing for September 26, 2025 at 3 p.m. in the John J. Moakley Courthouse behind me. Now, Jessica Leslie has the right to withdraw her guilty plea as a result of that disposition being rejected. But the big news of the day was most certainly that Jessica Leslie not only admitted to FBI agents and in open court to leaking information from the Massachusetts State Trooper CDL scandal between January 25th and January 30th of 2025, but she admitted as well after those indictments came down to leaking information about, quote, an investigation that was running in February of 2024 pursuant by the DOJ, but is now closed. Now, the words John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case were not said, folks, but it was clear as one of the 4 reporters in the courtroom that was exactly what was being discussed. Leslie leaked about the CDL case. She leaked about the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case, and then the U.S. attorney, the assistant U.S. attorney, indicated that Leslie leaked about 2 other unrelated investigations as well. As a result of all of that information being disclosed, the assistant U.S. attorney informed Judge Talwani she would file an impounded pre-sentencing report, including a full description of the information that Judge Talwani would get about the leaks by Miss Leslie. You could see, ladies and gentlemen, in Judge Talwani's eyes, the furor with this recommended disposition. There was no statement on the record from the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding substantial cooperation, or what's called a 501k motion. And you could see as a result of that Judge Talwani was not comfortable accepting a disposition regarding grand juror leaks from at least 4 different cases in the amount of 1 day in jail time served and 24 months supervised release. Where this leaves this case, ladies and gentlemen, is anyone's guess. What we know right now is firm. September 26, 2025, 3 p.m. in front of Judge Talwani, sentencing. Will that date be moved? Will Leslie withdraw her guilty plea? This woman could now be facing time in prison. What exactly is the nature of the February 2024 investigation that is now closed that Leslie leaked about, and who did she leak to? We know that this grand jury was impaneled on May 26, 2022, and Leslie started leaking for the first time in August of 2022. That is precisely the same month that Alan Jackson joined Karen Reed's legal team. More to come, more investigations, more targets. My name's Grant Smith-Ellis, reporting live from outside the John J. Moakley Courthouse. I'll have more as I know it.
Very nice.
Julie, craziest person on earth with a cameo. Look at me, little towel. I'm such an excitable little towel. I have a lot when I'm saying things, I'm very animated. You know, look at me. I'm always animated. No matter what frame we're on, I have something to say. Every time you look at me, I'm like, oh, yes, the pasta is a very good. If you can't tell, I find myself hilarious. All right, let's watch this TikTok of Note My Objection. I'll comment on it. I'm a towel. I'm the only towel who comments in real time on people's TikToks. You put up a TikTok, I'll comment on it if it's about federal court. How about that? All right, here we go. I don't watch a lot of TikToks. I don't even know if this is going to play if I don't have an account. Maybe I'll make one. I heard the TikTok crowd, they could use some towel. You know, someone was like, someone said I use TikTok, and Grant, you should make a TikTok. Now, I normally only make social media accounts out of spite. So I don't know how I feel about making one, you know, just because I want to help people. Now, if we find a reason for me to spite people and go on TikTok, oh yeah. Now, you just asked Shalene Title about my history of creating social media accounts out of spite. She can be a witness. I only created my Instagram out of spite. And I think I only created my Facebook out of spite. And I'm pretty sure I only created my Twitter out of spite. I forget who I was spiting at the time. Bygones be bygones. But I wanted to spite someone. Now, Shalene Title's my friend, or, you know, she's a colleague. And so I was not spiting her, but I remember telling her explicitly, oh, I created another social media account. She was like, do you only do this out of spite?
Here we go.
The United States Attorney's Office.
This is Note My Objections TikTok that just went up. She was in the court. She was in the court with little towel.
Jessica Leslie, who was indicted by the United States Attorney Austin, was in court today for a waiver of her indictment and a plea to information. What did we learn from that? I'm Catherine from Know My Objection. Let's get into it. In probably the most unsurprising turn of events, we didn't learn a whole lot from the United States Attorney's Office. So they read essentially what would be a statement of the case, what the United States Attorney's Office would intend to prove had this case gone to trial. And what they allege, and subsequently what Ms. Leslie pled guilty to, was that she leaked information outside of the grand jury after she was sworn to secrecy by federal court order and instruction from the judge, and specifically relative to several investigations. The first one being an indictment that issues in January of 2024, multi-count indictment returned on January 30th. So I think the assumption is that is likely surrounding the CDL state police. Subsequent to that, there was additional leaking relative to additional investigations unrelated to that indictment. We don't know the specifics. They didn't say, there was no specific information given.
Wrong. They specifically said that it was impaneled in February of 2024, February 1st, 2024, and then it's now over. Come on, you got to get that right. Note my objection. I'm going to email Christina Rex and tell her you got it wrong. Don't make me do it.
Given in the recitation of the facts by the United States Attorney. It's set for September 26th for a sentencing.
Oh, bro, you totally swung and missed. You missed the lead. Bro, you cannot miss the lead. Listen, I know I can't call you bro because I don't know you like that, but you can't miss the lead. This is the biggest story of your career. You missed the fucking lead. You were in court. I know what was said. Shelley Murphy knows what was said and reported it. It's in the Globe. It's in the paper of record. You can't make a TikTok where you say we didn't get specific details. You can't miss the fact that it was impaneled February 1st, 2024 and is now over. That's the key to the whole fucking thing. That's the lead. You missed the lead. You missed the damn lead. How are you going to miss the fucking lead? You can't miss the lead. You missed the lead. Oh, no. She got most of it, but she missed the lead. Wow.
Prior to that, there will be what's called a pre-sentencing memorandum and report issued by the probation department. The United States Attorney's Office also indicated that they would be filing a motion to essentially unimpound some of the information for the grand jury to be provided to the...
Okay, unimpound in the sense that it goes to the judge, but still impounded. Like, it's protected grand jury information that the judge can see, but it's still impounded.
Judge, so that she could...
And note my objection also missed that the judge provisionally rejected the disposition. I mean, that she missed the two biggest things. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be overly critical, but come on. Like, there's nuance to this, okay? Wrote me a manual, all right? And you missed the Globe got, like, you put this TikTok out, and then the Globe ran their article. Like, you understand the Globe and I scooped you, okay? We scooped you hard because you missed the two biggest things in the hearing. I'm trying to be not overly critical, but you missed the two biggest things in the hearing, which was that the grand jury, there were four leaks, roughly, four different investigations. The CDL between January 25th and January 30th, okay? Then a grand jury impaneled February 1st, 2024, that is no longer active, okay? Okay, that's John O'Keefe, Karen Reed. We know that from the Globe, okay? And then two other unrelated. And then you also missed that Judge Talwani said she provisionally wasn't comfortable with the plea disposition. She took the plea, but wasn't comfortable with the disposition upon a first look. Not good. Not good. I mean, I'm not trying to be overly critical, but you can say the two major details in ways that aren't, like, completely accurate and be okay. But this is, I'm sorry, it's a swing and a miss. I like this person, okay? I like her accent, I like her analysis, I like her videos about Meredith. They're hilarious, even though we should be nice to Meredith. Not because she's nice to other people, because we got to break the cycle. Anyway, my point is, you can't be this wrong. Not even wrong. Like, it's not being wrong, it's just, like, if I were an editor, I'd be like, bro, like, I'm sorry to say bro, but, like, you missed the two. Like, I'm reading the Globe right now. You missed the two biggest parts of the hearing. You were in the room. how did that happen? Now, I get Shelley Murphy missed a little of it, the nuance about the provisional rejection of the plea, but you really have to be trained in law school or as a lawyer to catch all of that. Now, my objection, I believe, is a lawyer, so I'm a little bit baffled because it's really important, not for her reporting. I mean, it's too late. It's already out there in every other outlet. But, like, you can't miss that. You can't. It's so, those two details are the most important part of the entire hearing, and she missed both of them. And then she reported it wrong. I think that's why I'm a little freaked out, because the Globe, thank God that Shelley Murphy put it in there. It would have come out in Mass Live too, I'm sure. But, like, no, you got it wrong. I mean, I like you and your views in terms of how you express yourself and all that, but you got this wrong, like blatantly wrong. So I'm sorry. I know. Don't worry about it, girl with an eagle eye. We found it. I know a lot of people liked my objection. I'm not saying I don't like her, but I'm telling you, I was in court. We read the Shelley Murphy article to back me up, and even Shelley Murphy missed a little bit of the detail. No, my objection missed both of the most important pieces, and then misrepresented what the judge said, what the prosecutor said about the February 1st, 2024 impanelment, and the fact that second leak or second investigation Leslie leaked about was now closed. And as I mentioned, my objection missed that the plea disposition was provisionally rejected, and Judge Tawani said openly she didn't feel comfortable with it.
Actually make the decision as to what sentencing was. Now, Judge Tawani said in open court that she accepted the plea after a colloquy.
Okay.
What a colloquy is when the defendant is asked a number of questions by the judge.
She'll redeem
your
herself.
Name, your date of birth, your level of education, have you consulted with an attorney, all these kinds of things. And subsequent to that, pleaded guilty. So Judge Tawani indicated that she didn't have enough information at the moment to accept the recommendation of the parties. And the recommendation is 1 day in custody.
No, it wasn't that she didn't have enough information. That was part of it, but that's not how it was said. It was, I'm not comfortable. And the look, you got to have been watching Judge Tawani closely, which I was, in her demeanor. It wasn't, I need more information. It was, I'm not comfortable with the plea, the disposition. I'm telling you, I'm getting this read right. And that's what she said openly in court. Yes, she said she was willing to look at more. That was what it was. Judge Tawani said, I'm not comfortable with this disposition, but I'm willing to look at more information. Okay? That was the quote. So that part, that was a big deal.
Time served, so she doesn't actually have to serve any time. $100 fine, 24 months of supervised release. And what the judge said was, okay, I will accept the plea, your change of plea to guilty, but I don't have enough information yet to accept what the disposition is.
The exact quote was, I'm not comfortable with the disposition, but I'm willing to look at more information.
Now, the judge has the ability to go above and beyond what the recommended sentence is by the parties. However, if the judge decides to deviate from the recommended agreement, Ms. Leslie is allowed to withdraw her plea. So that is set for sentencing on September 26th.
3 p.m.
To be down there on
3 p.m. Judge Tawani's courtroom.
That date, and we may have a little bit of information, but we probably won't because it is the feds and they only give you what they want. So the question...
I'm giving you my get better sources face.
Ultimately remains, will we ever find out specifically what she was leaking as to the other investigations outside of the CDL?
One of them is the Karen Reed case. How did you blow that? Your lead is Jessica Leslie was leaking about the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case per the Globe. The prosecutor said that Leslie leaked about the CDL and a case that was impaneled in front of the federal grand jury on February 1st, 2024. And then what is now closed. That's the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case. According to the Boston Globe, it was clear it was the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case from the timeline as laid out by the federal prosecutor today. There were also 2 other cases that were mentioned that Leslie leaked about. Those are unclear. Furthermore, Leslie's plea deal, although it was accepted in terms of her guilty plea, was rejected in terms of its disposition provisionally, and Judge Tawani said she felt uncomfortable but was willing to look at more information regarding the disposition. That's your video. Okay, bruh? Not calling you bruh. I don't mean to do that. It's pedantic. I think this is actually a very good commentator. She's not a journalist, though. And I think she's a legal analyst, and she's not a reporter. And she needs to be clear about that. She's a legal analyst. She's not a reporter. She doesn't have sources. She just basically said openly, she doesn't really have sources. She goes on the court docket. Okay, that's fine. You're a legal analyst. You're not a reporter. You cannot report on federal cases based on the docket. Are you out of your mind? You won't understand the docket. She knows this. The docket doesn't make sense unless you understand the context of the case. The docket is an inductive, analysis tool. It allows you to reconstruct 70% of the case. But if you don't know the people, you have to know the people in the case. You have to talk to people. You have to be a reporter, or you cannot cover federal court. You can barely cover state court, although it's way more accessible based on the docket. That's some of these reporters are out of their mind. I don't know if she's not a reporter, though. I'm not talking about her. She's the legal analyst. She should just be clear about that. She's not a reporter. That's not how you understand the full context of a federal case. That's not how you do it. Maybe that's how a lawyer who's on the case, as an appearance, files an appearance on a case. Okay, you get access to enough of the docket, and it's your client. And you can talk to the prosecutor. Then you can do it. But you can't take a lawyerly approach to examining federal court dockets. It says 1/10 of the story. State court dockets are a little bit better, but they still only tell 70% of the story. So I'd be happy to enter into a discussion with my objection. I don't know her that well. I don't talk to her. But if Christina Rex thinks she's a good analyst, she's a good analyst. But she's not a reporter, and she clearly does not have any sources. And also she got two very big things wrong about this, and she blew the lead, and it's the biggest story of her career. Maybe she doesn't want to be a reporter, but it's the Reed case. It's the Reed and O'Keefe case she was leaking about. That's national headlines. By the way, what the top secret information is that's being leaked, I'm not sure, Peggy. I'm pretty sure in August of 2022, Leslie probably leaked about the existence of the Birchmore probe at its very early stage. And then Leslie also leaked about secret indictments against state police officers for the CDL scandal, the commercial driver's license scandal. And then she also leaked about the Reed and O'Keefe case. We don't know exactly what. Probably the identity. What I heard in court was it was the identity and descriptions of witnesses, what Jen McCabe looked like or something, what Brian Albert looked like, and then also the substance of their testimony, what they were saying at the grand jury, what Colin Albert was saying, stuff like that. Then I think these two other investigations, it's hard to really pin down, or one or two other. It's hard to pin down. I have some idea. But I don't want to say, listen, there's some stuff, even though no one has told me I can't say anything, and no one in the DOJ has told me anything, because they would not do that. There's some stuff that I, using my discretion, am not going to say. I'm sorry, I've earned the right to do it. I've been right about everything so far related to this. I'm on the ball. I nailed it. I got it before the Globe. The Globe reaffirmed my reporting. What more do you want? Paper of record affirming what I reported. And there's more to come, all right? But there's some stuff I don't want to talk about. I have some ideas because I'm so close to all this about what the other stuff is, but I don't that she leaked about, but I don't want to talk about it, all right? Because I want the people they're targeting to get in trouble, if they should get in trouble. I don't know what it is, but if it's what I think it is, then I want them to get in trouble, okay? I want anyone being investigated by a federal grand jury who did something wrong to get in trouble. How about that, okay? If they did something wrong. If they didn't, clear, all right? But anyway, out of discretion, I'm not going to say anything else. I think I'm probably one of the only journalists who knows what one of those two or three that she leaked about, what those cases are, but I can't confirm it, and I'm not just going to guess. And I don't want to guess, because if I'm right, then I would tip people off, and I don't want to do that. But I have some idea. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Now, the other thing is that I'm fully of the opinion that people keep thinking that because this is the only public criminal charge on the federal level, that that's the only thing being investigated related to all of this. And I'm just saying this is a very low level start to this. Okay? This is big. I've laid out the chart for you. I'm not the only one who's looking into this chart. I'm telling you, this chart is the whole thing, basically. There's more to it because of the CCC stuff and redacted. But this is it. This is what I think is going on. All right, it puts it all together. There's a lot of different parts of this, but it's the only thing that makes sense. And I'm not saying all of these different things will lead to necessarily charges, because who knows who cooperates, whatever. But the only thing that makes sense about all of this is this chart. That it was a bunch of people in the Reed orbit, Turtle Boy orbit, Brian Tully orbit, Kate Peter orbit, doing bad things. Okay? Some of them were doing bad things in the name of doing good things. Some of them were just defense attorneys being defense attorneys, and Karen Reeds being Karen Reeds, and Turtle Boys being morons, and Kate Peters being morons. It's really hard to pass moral judgment on some of these people. Some of them, I'm happy to say, are pretty evil. Okay? Those are the people that I'm comfortable, I want them to see repent through the juridical process for what they've done. Some of these people, I don't know. I can't tell who got taken for a ride, who was like engineering it, who was just like, all right, fuck it, I'm in too deep, I got to keep going along with this. It's a little bit hard to figure all that out, but that's not my job, okay? It's so above my pay grade. I am a low-level reporter trying to run a public information service, okay? That's it. That's all I am. There are people way above my pay grade. So far above my pay grade, I didn't think it was fucking possible looking into this. And I'm telling you, I'm not, they didn't have to talk to me, but I'm telling you, I know firsthand how high this goes up. It's crazy. It's almost like the state police had like connections, their own connections, maybe not in the DOJ with Rollins and Levy, but in different areas of task forces and stuff like that, interagency stuff with the feds. There's just there's something about this that is momentous. Like the way that they're shuttling Jessica Leslie out of the courthouse, the way some other things have played out over recent days. I'm not like just the way everything is aligning. Okay, I see where this is going, and I can only imagine the scope. It's frankly incredible. My name is Grant Smith Ellis. We've taken a look at, I think, the two most important reports that I wanted to look at, which was Shelley Murphy's report out of the courthouse today in Boston, and then Note My Objections. I want to read the Mass Live piece. If anyone knows Note My Objection, just send her a note. I say that and I'll send her a note too, but I don't actually have her contact, but I think she's on Twitter. I don't know if she gets DMs. I'll send her a DM and say, I'd love to talk more with you about this. We were both in the courtroom. Here's what I heard. Here's what Shelley Murphy heard and reported. How does that gel? But she also is a contracted analyst for CBS News, so if she doesn't want to interview with me, I totally understand that. But I would interview her in a heartbeat. I think she's very smart. I just don't understand. Like, I was there. Maybe it's because I was so in the zone because I knew how important this was. Like I said before, like to a friend before I went to court today, this is the most important day of my life. And it absolutely was. Not because necessarily it was like some bombshell explosive material, but because there was enough there for a keen mind, for a keen ear and a keen mind to know which way the winds may yet blow. And we just needed that. That's why Shelley Murphy was probably waiting to run that piece for a month. She knew all they needed to say in that courtroom was something to confirm her sources saying that Leslie leaked about the Reed case, and she got enough in that sentence about February 1st, 2024, now closed. And that's why she ran it. That was damn good. So I'm glad we got to read that. I'm glad we got to look at Note My Objections reporting. I want to see the Mass Live article. Young up-and-coming beat reporter that's going to write that. I see a future. I don't know who her editor is, but they should promote her very quickly. All right, and then let's look at the video one more time. She's on Substack and now TikTok. The X mob ran her off. Yeah, I don't know. X is a little weird. I don't really read a lot of comments on X. Like, sometimes I, like, troll Kate Peters' friends and stuff like that, but mostly, I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to get the indoctrinated Turtle Boy fans and Kate Peter fans to, like, see a different way. So I don't really, like, engage with them unless I'm trying to make a point. Or like humanize like two sides of an argument. I threw myself in the middle of that inter-Australian war that was going on Twitter, not because I really care about either side of that war in the sense I don't know any of the people involved. However, I was looking at it and I was like, wait a minute, like, I think like I think it's like Miss Shorty and Obach. I don't really know all these people, so I don't know all their different names and what they do, and I just don't. They're all just people on the internet who have views on the Karen Reed and Turtle Boy cases to me, okay? But I started realizing, like, wait, all these Australian women, YouTubers, I think are being manipulated by Kate Peter, Jason Broyles, and Aidan Kearney. And then I was like, wait a minute. They're not really fighting each other. Like, I don't even think they have to hate each other. I think they're just being used as proxies. So I threw myself into the middle of that, and I was like, I must bring about peace on the Australian continent. I must bring peace to the Australian YouTube arena. Now, I don't think I did a very good job of that, but I just threw myself in the middle of it, and I was like, Kate Peter, Jason Broyles, and Brian Tully are the real evil. Now, enough people seem to agree with that. Now, getting them to agree Turtle Boy's the real evil, that's a little hard, but we're working on it, you know. But if you just say Kate Peter, Jason Broyles, and Brian Tully are the real evil, oh, well, you know, you could bring all sides together. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying they're the only evil, but you'd be surprised. You know what I'm saying? Because even Aiden covers a little sometimes for Kate in ways where I'm like, was Kate and Tully like helping you out a little bit, Aiden? Like, you know, scratch my back, I scratch yours. And then I'm like, what the fuck kind of sordid, incestuous shit is that? Crazy fucking prosecuting him and helping him out and winking at each other. Kate Peter and Aidan Kearney have the weirdest sexual fucking tension. First of all, they do kind of deserve each other. He's a little Oompa Loompa. I'm not going to say anything negative about a woman's looks. God, this is incredibly fucking difficult. God damn it. All right, well, Aiden's a little Oompa Loompa, and Kate is redacted from the movie Redacted. How about that? Okay? They deserve each other. They really do. They can live in unholy matrimony on the River Styx, and they can play AC/DC at their wedding. Okay? That's what I imagine a Kate Peter and Aidan Kearney wedding would look like. Now, I don't want to think about the honeymoon. I would prefer to eat my dinner after the stream. So, in short, I'm a towel. First of all, who gave me a microphone? Who let me go into federal court, and who let me stumble on to the biggest story of the past century? Of this century. I said that to a colleague the other day. I said, it's the biggest story of the century. It's a young century, though. And they laughed and said, well, it's true. To both things. I think TB trolls himself on Twitter and uses it as content on a show. Peggy, I think you're right about that. I think Kate Peter and Aidan Kearney like reciprocally feed off each other for content. They like a lot of the drama was coming for them, mostly for content. But it's just boring. They're not really intellectually stimulating. They don't do good analysis. They're not really smart, in my opinion. They're not really good at analyzing things. Both of them will just be like, they're good at like the flashy headline that has no substance. You know, like watch me because I like jumped off a bridge into a deep pool of water. I don't know, like something like that. You know, like they're like internet nerds, right? But when you actually listen to them, it's so fucking boring, okay? They provide nothing of substance. They don't actually go anywhere and do anything of relevance. When you're actually looking at what they're doing, it's mostly like online flame wars, okay? Like, go back to Dig, motherfuckers. Like, open a MySpace. Jesus Christ, stay out of the criminal court process. This is a serious thing. And they just degrade it. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand the process. It's very polemical. It's very personal. It's boring. Only like the same 4,000 to 10,000 people even care about that shit. It's just their followers talking about each other for content over and over and over. Who's going to be the fodder of the week? Oh, we're going to talk about Jen Altman this week. Oh, we're going to talk about fucking Esty this week. All right, this week we're going to talk about Kim Fair. All right, we'll talk about Jason Broyles. Now we'll talk about Christie. Like, oh, who are we going to throw in the fire this week for content? You know what I mean? That's all they do over and over and over again. Like, it's a sick, demented cycle. And the only thing that was going to stop it, because of how tied in they are with every fucking police department in this state and half the state police and the judicial system, was the federal government. And now they're all going to get fucked. Rightfully so. I feel no sympathy for any of them. Because it was just about content. If there was some principle behind it, I'd almost be more sympathetic if they were communists. I fucking hate communists, too. I would almost be more sympathetic because I'd be like, well, at least they have a fucking cause. You know, fuck them. They're not doing it here, fucking commies. But at least they have a cause. These motherfuckers don't have a cause. They just have themselves. Like, they're very, like, lonely, like, desperate, isolated individuals who want to make the world feel like they feel. And they do it through trolling, and they think they're important because they're on the internet. Motherfucker, there's so many people on the internet. Your insular, stupid communities, Kate and Aiden, only have relevance because you interfere with the criminal court process, because you abuse your network of police sources and prosecutors and judicial resources to do it. And you got a bunch of people fucking caught up in a federal investigation because you're fucking stupid, in my opinion. And Jason Broyles didn't help your cause. He's a fucking moron. And you abuse vulnerable women, all of you. Kate, too. That's why I think, like, her and Aiden are very similar. And I was worried that, like, Kate, Aiden, and Jason all sexually got off on releasing Lindsay's phone. You know? Because, like, that's what those type of fucking sick, twisted people do. They get off sexually on power over other people through the justice system. Like, the thought of someone squirming because they can't fight back juridically gets them off. Are you fucking kidding me? Rot in federal prison, never come out. That's fucking horrifying. All of you. It's almost, in some sense, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, it is almost worse than what Alan Jackson and David Yannetti did with Turtle Boy. It's almost worse. Because at least with Alan Jackson and David Yannetti, they had, you know, I don't even know how to explain this. They had some guardrails. Like there was some limits, okay? Like, I like to think, I've looked Alan Jackson in the eye. I would like to think, if that meant, no, actually, I can't say this about Alan Jackson because he asked some really fucked up questions and he, like, took some citizenship away. He took some rape victim citizenship away or something in California. I don't know. I don't trust him. All right, I'd like to think, David Yannetti, I can say this about. I'd like to think, if I said to David Yannetti, if you were, you know, working as a police officer or whatever, and you were given a 15-year extraction of a victim's cell phone that had, you know, very private photos, giving birth, things like that, protected information, would you release it and take pleasure from it? I like to think David Yannetti would say no. Okay? He did a lot of fucked up things, okay, because I think he has a win-at-all-cost mentality. But I like to think there's some... I looked in his eyes when he talked to me about my dad. You know, he knew my dad. He was a nice guy. Yeah, I don't think he worked with him, but he knew. I like to think David Yannetti would say, no, that's morally wrong. Like, who would do that, okay? Now, in that sense, it is very possible. Not Karen and Alan. Nope. They did some fucked up... Alan did some fucked up things in other cases. Alan knows, and I've said it to his face, that I think those were fucked up things, so I'm never going to include him in this. But it's very possible that what Brian Tully, Kate Peter, and Jason Broyles did with Lindsay Gattani's cell phone extraction was worse than what David Yannetti did in the context of the Turtle Boy stuff. I'm serious. Not worse than what Alan Jackson and Karen Reed did. That was pretty bad. But far worse, I think, than what David Yannetti did. And that should tell you something. We had all these fucking self-interested, maniacal, dangerous people with access to power and money fucking around in the criminal justice system, and this is what we got. It's a reflection of our unhealthy obsession with true crime as a society. It's a reflection of our unhealthy parasocial relationships with these weird, like, small-time cult figures. It's a reflection of our unhealthy justice system and the way that it liaises with different individuals in order to advance its own agenda. It fundamentally, though, is a reflection of our failure as humans to hold each other accountable. We let the Kate Peters of the world exist. We let the Jason Broyles of the world exist. We let the Aidan Kearneys of the world exist. We let the Brian Tullys of the world exist through our systemic complacency. And I hold myself accountable for this as well, because even though I did put this all together, and it took a very long time, I enabled it by not finding out about it sooner. I failed a lot of people by not realizing what was staring me in the face. And can you really fault yourself when people are working really hard to cover up what they're doing? No, but we all enable it in our own ways, and we all have to work to break this cycle. And personally, I see some merit in breaking the cycle by looking for the intrinsic good in the followers of these people and trying to show them, not convince them, show them that another way is possible and that unconditional love, compassion, small acts of service are far more rewarding than dopamine hits from finding the next trolling victim day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. That's like watching baseball. It's great, it's rewarding, but it means nothing. What did the 2004 Red Sox winning the World Series, other than sort of bringing a lot of value to people who lived 86 years without seeing it, bringing value to their lives, what did that mean? It meant nothing. There's a little trophy that gets carried around from time to time. It didn't change history. It meant nothing. Okay? That's what some of you all are doing, stuck in these perpetual true crime community loops, and it's very unhealthy for America. If you want to just be internet nerds and focus on Cyrax and those other people, that's great. It won't hurt America. But if Turtle Boy just focused on like vulnerable Facebook, like single moms trying to ask for support for their dead dogs or whatever, he really doesn't like when they do that. He thinks they shouldn't be able to get money for their dead dogs, I think. But anyway, if he wants to focus on that, good for him. I said that on purpose because Turtle Boy's other thing he does is he tries to help animals. So, I was driving the dagger in a little bit there. I'm sure he has gone after some person on Facebook that was raising money to help their animal or something, though, and then he probably felt bad about it after. Anyway, but if Kate Peter wants to focus on people like Cyrax, and Aidan Kearney wants to focus on people like, vulnerable mothers trying to feed their young children by raising money on Facebook, good for them. At least that won't really destroy the justice system. I don't think it's healthy for America, but it won't destroy the justice system. Allowing people like that, and it's really Brian Tully's fault, Michael Morrissey's fault a little bit too. Allowing people like that and Josh Levy's fault, and Alan Jackson's fault, and David Yanetti's fault, and Karen Reed's fault. Allowing people like that into the orbit of the justice system, and people like Kate Peter and Jason Broyles and Aidan into the justice system. One, it has disgraced a lot of different people, and they're just waiting, I think, for that disgrace to become public. Two, I think it has permeated an unhealthy and toxic ethos throughout the coverage of the criminal court system, which is in turn actually the root of why people don't want to participate in it. Okay? So we need to stop this, I don't know what it is, this sycophantic obsession, like finding meaning in our lives through parasocial relationships with people who, for reasons that are not rooted in principle, are involved in the criminal justice system, and in turn covering up their own misconduct by leveraging public platforms and large groups of followers, to prevent the wider public at large, and ideally the media, from being able to understand what's going on. Okay? And that's what's happening here. It's a classic internet kind of clusterfuck, and as journalists, we need to be very responsible, and we are starting to be more responsible about how we approach these, like, internet nerds. I'm not being pejorative. They are internet nerds, okay? They are not serious actors in this space. It's a cliche term, calling someone serious, but not serious. But as journalists, we have to be responsible about how we process information from these self-interested actors, regardless of their platforms. You can just buy followers, so we can't look at numbers. We have to look at substance, okay? We have to look at substance, and we have to really safeguard our profession, and that might protect this, because those people, those like small-time like internet nerds, really care about what the media thinks. Don't get it twisted. They really fucking care. And so the media's job has to be not to pull a Ted Daniel. Never go full pink down to your underwear. Shout out Helen Gahagan Douglas. Obviously, Ted Daniel is the modern Helen Gahagan Douglas because he pinked down to his fucking underwear. Hey, Ted. Ted came up to me one time and was like, Grant, I talked about you on a documentary. And I was like, that was the stupidest thing you could have said to my face, because now I'm going to talk about you anytime I want. Really, Ted, I think your life would have been better if you had just not said that, but you wanted to. He also said I smelled like weed one time, And I looked him right in the eye in the bathroom and was like, that's medicine, Ted. Stop discriminating against me. I'm not really sure Ted Daniel knows what to do with me, but I don't think he thinks I think of him as a very serious reporter, and I think that pisses him off. But he's not a very serious reporter. I'd consider him more like a Ken doll. I don't know. Like you could like pre-program some phrases into him, and then he repeats them. Like I guess that's why Alan Jackson likes him, right, Alan? I don't know who JL is. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, is this Jessica Leslie's other attorney? Her name is. Hold on. It's Grace Edwards. Let's see if this is Grace Edwards. I keep saying we're going to be done, but I don't know. Don't give me a coffee at 4:00. That should actually be some kind of violation of intergalactic towel law. All right, I'm going to get this video. Hold on, let's take a slight pause here. If you're just tuning in, we did our recap. We're now kind of winding down, and the last two things I want to show is I want to show this video. I want to find out if this is the other attorney that represented Jessica Leslie. So I need to give this a second, and then I would also like to continue to look at my wonderful chart. I do have a wonderful chart. I agree. All right, give me a second, little towels. Give me a second. I got a plan here. I got a plan. We had a question from Meredith in chat. It's taking a second to load up, but Meredith was wondering if this was the other attorney for Jessica Leslie. So I'm just going to grab that link now. 1 second. I have the link. It is opening. Oh, Tal's in a mood, folks. Tal had quite a day. I think I'm going to need a long rest tonight. We will do a stream tomorrow where I will actually, outside of a breaking news format, take you through all of this. We'll talk about it, where I think this is going. It's clearly a big, big, big deal. Yes, that was the woman. That was her. Okay, so Jessica Leslie's attorney was apparently talking on Fox News about the Karen Reed case. Let us watch this right away. All right, hold on. All right. Let's see. Is this her? Her name is Grace Edwards. Let me just turn the news up. Yeah, I think that was the woman in court. I think that was the woman in court. All right, hold on. I got to turn the volume on. Hold on now. All right, where's the volume? All right. They started muted. I don't know why.
Let's bring in criminal defense attorney Mark Eiglarsh and Grace Edwards.
That's her!
Also known as Grace Adams. Grace, we apologize for getting your name wrong. I like Edwards much better anyway. She's the defense attorney based in Massachusetts. Mark, to you first, the big moment of the day.
Just so you know, she introduces herself to people. I heard her introduce herself as Grace Edwards.
Is this change of testimony where you had Carrie Roberts, who told the grand jury that she heard Karen Reed ask Jennifer McCabe to Google hypothermia, and today she said this much.
I misunderstood the question. I didn't know it was that you heard, so I was explaining what happened in the back of the car. I obviously got the question wrong because I did not hear anybody ask about a Google search.
I mean, Mark, even if you believe that Reed did this, that's a big deal. That's a big slip up.
Yeah, I think it's bigger than big. I call it colossal. You know, when the government promises you something in their opening statement and their witnesses don't support it, and at best for the prosecution, there was a misstatement. What's best for the defense is that she lied. And here's the bigger point. It's not just about her testimony. Mm-hmm. She testified in front of the grand jury. Mm-hmm. Was she lying then? Is she lying now? And the argument that I would make as a defense lawyer is, had the prosecution done a fair evaluation of this case in front of the grand jury, presenting the evidence honorably and credibly, we wouldn't be here.
And it's interesting to me, Grace, because, you know, Mark Toxey, it's a very good point. When you throw this in the mix with these investigative shenanigans and other stuff that's been happening in this trial, it does not bode well for the prosecution.
No. What an incredible bombshell that testimony was yesterday. In addition to what she said about lying to the grand jury, to me, the bombshell was the timeline. And the reason why is because it was not a group, it was not supposed to be a group project figuring out what happened that morning. What the Massachusetts State Police is supposed to do is contemporaneous, which means soon in time after the events, bring those witnesses in individually, audio tape them, video.
Miss Attorney Edwards, when Karen Reed was interviewed with her dad present on the afternoon of January 29, 2022, between 2:10 p.m. Well, no, excuse me. She was home alone from 2:10 until 4 p.m. But when she was interviewed about 4:12 p.m., maybe a little bit earlier, a little bit later, by the Massachusetts State Police, she wasn't segregated from her father, was she? No, she was in the living room with her dad, wasn't she? So what are you talking about?
Tape the interview and memorialize their memories then. This group activity around the kitchen table allowed a new narrative to be created.
And I want to play some sound on that because you talk about this whole timeline. The sound here is on some coaching that may or may not have been done. Watch.
By Mr. Reed?
How did you know it happened, Miss Roberts, if no one told you it happened?
Because we wrote a timeline. We already spoke about that.
The timeline that Jennifer McCabe helped you with, that influenced your testimony in front of the grand jury, correct? Obviously.
I was telling what happened in the back of the cruiser.
Yeah, we have less than a minute left. I want to get both of your takes on this. Mark Eiglarsh, little coaching there, little timeline prep.
Yeah, it makes the prosecutors look bad. But I'll tell you this, you know what doesn't lie? You know what doesn't make mistakes? Scientific evidence. And that puts the pressure on the prosecutors to produce the black box that came from the car, which they claim will show conclusively that she backed up at 24.2 miles an hour and ran over her ex-boyfriend.
15
that
seconds.
testimony.
Well, yeah, so there's actually that data that was intentionally missed, which is why I think the second retrial was a bag job. Like, they let Karen get a not guilty because they were seeing if she would interfere with the jury, in my opinion. But what's more interesting is he's just wrong about that. There was a chip-off done, and this is why it got so it wasn't even convoluted. Just there's no way the media would have ran with this because it undermined Karen's entire narrative. Karen's expert from the first trial, Maggie Gaffney, failed to do a proper chip-off of the EDR board and the infotainment system in Karen's car. Now, when you actually look at the correct chip-off data, only discovered by Welcher, which is why Alan Jackson ruined his life, what you found there was a backup event, and that during that backup event, the sync of the clock perfectly lines up with John O'Keefe's phone not moving for the last time. So Karen backs up to 24.2 miles an hour at 70% on the accelerator, according to the data, again, which was only not available in the first trial because Karen's expert missed it. I want to interview Maggie Gaffney sometime. Maybe the feds should. I don't know. Anyway, so in the second trial, the data shows not only the backup event occurring up to 24.2 miles an hour at 12:32:04 seconds to 12:32 and 14 seconds. Okay, so it's 12:32:04 to 12:32:09 is when the backup event is recorded, and it's like a 10-second window where the backup event starts before the 10-second window, then the 10-second window captures like the backup event in the data, and then the backup event can keep going afterwards. Okay, Karen's car accelerated to 24.2 miles an hour, and there was a backup event recorded right before John O'Keefe's phone stopped moving at 12:32.16 seconds for the last time and never moved again from the lawn of Fairview Road. He just got that completely fucking wrong. I don't know who the fuck this guy is. This was when Pope Francis died, so this was recently. This was in the past 5 months. Furthermore, why is the attorney not of record for Jessica Leslie in the federal case, but, quote, the woman who has been with her from the beginning, arguing pro-Karen Reed defense talking points? What are the feds going to find with this lawyer? You don't understand. If you're a lawyer, that won't stop the feds from going after you. They've dealt with the mafia for like 75 years. You don't think the mob knew how to hire fucking lawyers? They would just bang up the lawyers, bro. Like, the feds would just bang the lawyers. There's no privilege if you commit a crime. So, I don't know. There's something weird here with this Grace Edwards. Like, I'm the only person who heard her introduce herself as Grace Edwards. I'm the only one who reported that. I know it was her in the courtroom. You don't understand. I'm a little towel. She said she had been with Jessica Leslie from the beginning. What the fuck does that even mean? You were never the attorney of record on the federal case, as far as I can see. What is this woman, Grace Edwards? Was she a handler? Oh, Karen. Oh, Alan. Oh, you guys are not good at life. What are you doing? You're up against Hank Brennan and Leah Foley. Come on now. You don't think they found this?
Is going to be key.
Grace.
Oh, yes. I mean, my comment with respect to that is that when someone lies, when the story changes, they are not a credible witness. So you have to immediately move to the forensic analysis that you've done, the ARCA testing, the cell phone information that they have pulled from the cell phones. That's what you've got, and that's what this case really should be about.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This woman was in the bag. This woman was spewing talking points. Oh my God. Who found this? God bless you for finding this. Who found this earlier? Meredith. Yeah. Oh, Meredith. Meredith, you may seriously consider, I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice, but Meredith, you may seriously consider forwarding this to the U.S. Attorney's Office. I'm telling you, like right now, straight up, I was in that courtroom earlier today. That lawyer introduced herself to someone and said, my name is, I have it right here, hold on. Let me just read it directly from my notes. My name is Grace Edwards. I've been the attorney for Jessica since the beginning. Or I've been with Jessica since the beginning. And that Grace Edwards was the woman who walked. I saw them come out of the elevator, and they did not come up the elevator. They came from the down elevator because I saw it coming down. So she was with her up in the U.S. Attorney's Office. She might be a mole for the Reed defense. I don't even know if anybody realizes this. In the U.S. Attorney's Office, I don't know if Hank Brennan realizes this. You'd have to have watched that random 4-minute clip. Oh, dear God. This just gets worse and worse and worse. But then it's enough cover for the lawyer because she's a criminal defense lawyer. So, of course, Jessica Leslie would need a criminal defense lawyer. But it's weird that Leslie went to Grace Edwards, who clearly was spewing talking points. I know what talking points look like for the Reed defense. I've studied this for months, years. Bro. Why? It just keeps going. I just want it to stop. I was feeling so much better earlier, and it just keeps going and going. Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously, though, it's very important, in my opinion. Meredith, please send the U.S. Attorney's Office. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. But I think you should send the U.S. Attorney's Office some kind of report about this Grace Edwards. Because I'm telling you, I heard her say, I have been with Jessica since the beginning. Jack D65, it's very possible that one of the, not the lawyer of record for Jessica Edwards, Jessica Leslie, not the lawyer of record, but Grace Edwards, another lawyer who was on Fox News, as recently as the Pope passing away, Pope Francis, the lawyer was on Fox News talking about pro-Karen Reed defense talking points. And I heard that lawyer in the hallway say today, when she introduced herself to someone, "Hello, my name is Grace Edwards, and I have been with Jessica since the beginning. I know this because I wrote it down." Oh my God. Oh my God. Grace Edwards certainly was with Jessica Leslie when she walked down to that courtroom. They were up in the U.S. Attorney's office, I'm almost positive, which is up on the 9th floor. If Grace Edwards is a mole for Alan Jackson and Karen Reed, Grace Edwards cannot be meeting with the U.S. Attorney's Office with Jessica Leslie if the U.S. Attorney's Office doesn't know that Grace Edwards is a mole for the Reed defense. Do you understand what I'm saying? Fuck. Yep. I'm in a fine mood, but this is just something else we got to deal with. We, the royal we, all of us. God bless us. It's like I was meant to be there, man. If I wasn't sitting there, listen, like I have supersonic hearing, you don't understand. I can hear things like from 150 feet away. So, if I wasn't there listening to that, we would not know this. Oh no. Why does this happen? I don't know if I feel like this duty or like, it kind of makes me, it traumatizes me a little bit, like, because I know what it means I have to go through again. And I'm just like, oh, fucking Christ. Sorry for using the Lord's name in vain. Hopefully this one won't be as hard to unravel, but it really traumatizes me. Oh, dear goodness. Yeah, it's a mole. We got a pretty serious situation here. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I think the people that want to report her to are in on it too. No, I don't think so. I think there are some people that are onto this in the DOJ that are really onto it, and they're being manipulated. Well, how would you know it's a mole? Jack D65 was traumatized by the Karen Reed verdict. Yep. Oh yeah, and don't worry if anyone isn't willing to send it directly. I will try to send a report if I can. But if someone, I think this is incredibly important to at least get on the radar, I'll write a report about it on my Twitter, which I'm sure they read. But please don't let this fall through the cracks. I will not let it fall through the cracks. This, even if there's nothing to happen, this is a huge screaming red flag, like the biggest screaming red flag you can imagine. Yeah, it's wild, Peggy. Tanya was so traumatized by the verdict she bought a puppy. Well, we do love little puppies. Puppies make us all happy. Pete Bunny Towel's not making an appearance today. He's sleeping. I may have let him. All right. I didn't put him in my bed with me when I slept, but when I left today, I put Pete Bunny Towel in the bed and tucked him in. Not going to lie, I felt he deserved a bed. All right, I'm a little weird. What do you want from me? Pete Bunny Towel, just know he's comfy. He's over there on the bed. He's going to have to go back to his bookshelf when I go to bed, but he's in bed right now, tucked in next to my pillow. I tried to put him on the pillow. I couldn't tuck the blanket in, so I put him next to the pillow. All right, I was happy. Yeah, truth over bias, we're onto something. So if you're just tuning in, one of the lawyers for Jessica Leslie, if you missed the news today, I'll run the clip one more time of my reporting from outside court. It was pretty good. Thank you to Julia, the craziest person on earth. That's their username. They love their username. They're very proud. For filming Little Towel today. I did a news report. Let's watch it. And then if you just tuned in, we have even more chaos because the lawyer who showed up with Jessica Leslie and said she had been there since the beginning was on Fox News doing pro-Karen Reed talking points as recently as when the Pope died, which I'm pretty sure was April of 2024, when Jessica Leslie was like still actively being investigated. So let's watch Little Towel's clip one more time, and then listen. Peep Towel is a saint. Yes, God bless Peep Towel. He's being saintly. He's keeping an eye on Little Towel. He's resting. Are you comfortable over there, Peep Towel? He nodded. He looks a little dazed, though. I think he's sleeping. All right, let's watch the video one more time. That was crazy. I cannot believe Meredith just found that. Meredith, you are super towel. Good job, Meredith. All right, here we go. Let's do it. If you missed it, this was Towel News today. Outside the court, the other reporters said that I could go on Court TV. Matt Johnson, eat your heart out. Don't worry, Matt Johnson, I'm not going to Court TV. Although Towel Mom said that she would not do an interview with me until I'm Court TV. So I don't know if that means I have to work for Court TV or go on Court TV. I think she might have been kidding. But either way, Court TV, hit me up. Somebody send this to Court TV. If they play this clip, then I'll be like, Towel Mom, I'm technically Court TV. You don't understand. The Court TV played me. I'm Court TV. Then Towel Mom will come on and do an interview with us about the ERA. It's a genius plan. Good afternoon. My name is Grant Smith Ellis. It's just past 3:30 p.m. here at the John J. Moakley Federal Courthouse in Boston, where a stunning series of developments has just unfolded related to grand juror leaguer Jessica Leslie. Jessica Leslie was scheduled to tender her plea agreement with U.S. prosecutors from the Department of Justice today related to a mysterious series of leaks between August of 2022 and early 2024. And the very first thing we found out, folks, was that Judge Talwani accepted Leslie's guilty plea, but rejected the proposed disposition by federal prosecutors. The proposed disposition of 1 day in jail time served, 24 months supervised release and no fine, and $100 special assessment was initially and provisionally rejected by Judge Talwani. As a result of that rejection, Judge Talwani did accept the guilty plea and set sentencing for September 26, 2025 at 3 p.m. in the John J. Moakley Courthouse behind me. Now, Jessica Leslie has the right to withdraw her guilty plea as a result of that disposition being rejected. But the big news of the day was most certainly that Jessica Leslie not only admitted to FBI agents and in open court to leaking information from the Massachusetts State Trooper CDL scandal between January 25th and January 30th of 2025, but she admitted as well after those indictments came down to leaking information about, quote, an investigation that was running in February of 2024 pursuant by the DOJ, but is now closed. Now, the words John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case were not said, folks, but it was clear as one of the 4 reporters in the courtroom that that was exactly what was being discussed. Leslie leaked about the CDL case. She leaked about the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed case, and then the U.S. attorney, the assistant U.S. attorney, indicated that Leslie leaked about 2 other unrelated investigations as well. As a result of all of that information being disclosed, the assistant U.S. attorney informed Judge Talwani she would file an impounded pre-sentencing report, including a full description of the information that Judge Talwani would get about the leaks by Miss Leslie. You could see, ladies and gentlemen, in Judge Talwani's eyes, the furor with this recommended disposition. There was no statement on the record from the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding substantial cooperation, or what's called a 501k motion. And you could see as a result of that Judge Talwani was not comfortable accepting a disposition regarding grand juror leaks from at least 4 different cases in the amount of 1 day in jail time served and 24 months supervised release. Where this leaves this case, ladies and gentlemen, is anyone's guess. What we know right now is firm. September 26, 2025, 3 p.m. in front of Judge Talwani, sentencing. Will that date be moved? Will Leslie withdraw her guilty plea? This woman could now be facing time in prison. What exactly is the nature of the February 2024 investigation that is now closed that Leslie leaked about, and who did she leak to? We know that this grand jury was impaneled on May 26, 2022, and Leslie started leaking for the first time in August of 2022. That is precisely the same month that Alan Jackson joined Karen Reed's legal team. More to come. More investigations, more targets. My name's Grant Smith Ellis, reporting live from outside the John J. Moakley Courthouse. I'll have more as I know it.
Very nice.
It was very good. Why didn't the judge accept the disposition? Well, I said a little bit about it, Jack D65, in my analysis. It's because I think Judge Talwani thought this was she didn't say it, but I kind of saw it in her eyes. She was like, I don't really accept this for 4 different cases being leaked by a grand juror. Because remember, you're in contempt of court for doing this. That's the crime. You offended the court's grand jury. The grand jury is working in the name of the court. It's deputized by the court. You're basically like a deputized officer of the court, kind of. It's more serious in some sense because you're a grand juror and there's secrecy rules. So Judge Talwani didn't accept the disposition for two reasons. One, because I think it was too light, and two, because Judge Talwani didn't see anything from the prosecutors in the plea, which she probably would have deferred to if they had said it, about substantial cooperation. Now, you might be asking, why didn't the prosecutors just say that? Okay, well, we might be talking about it openly, but I don't think the U.S. DOJ wants anyone to know, although they're not doing a good job hiding it, that Jessica Leslie's cooperating. If someone's cooperating and you smuggle them out of the courthouse, it's obvious they're cooperating. If you just treat them like any other defendant, it's not obvious they're cooperating, but then you have a bunch of images of them out there. That leads me to believe they're okay with people like me realizing she's cooperating and telling you, and then telling you all about it, okay, because they're making it obvious, because they've adjudged that cost-benefit analysis, letting her picture go out there and her having to walk out the door, which happens to no one gets out of this. Even city councilors have to walk out the front of the back door. Her getting to avoid this treatment can only mean that the people who she cooperated against, like she must be cooperating, are so dangerous that the U.S. attorney doesn't want anyone in open court to be told that she's cooperating. But now they're stuck. This is why I think this is such an interesting situation. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You have a federal judge who, unless you show her something, because I saw her say it, I heard her say it, I'm not comfortable with this disposition, but I'm willing to look at more information. Unless you show her something that makes her comfortable, and I don't know how you could show her more information, Judge Talwani, about the leaks, that would make her comfortable with a lower disposition. The more you show her, the more she's going to want a higher sentence. So you can get a downward departure against the judge's wishes if you're a federal prosecutor, but to get that, do you know what you must do? You must assert, it's either a 506K or a 501K, you must assert in open court that the defendant has substantially cooperated with the federal government. Okay? You can get it. You can get what they want here, but they have to say that, and they didn't say it today. So they better say it next month, if they want the sentence. That's what I'm saying. Meredith said, okay, Meredith, definitely, New York Post is a very pro-Karen Reed outlet too, so definitely link to that if you can. And I'll try to compile all this. We're going to talk about this all together. We may have a breaking news story literally in the middle of our breaking news story, because I, of course, was one of the only reporters to hear Grace Edwards introduce herself and say that she had been with Jessica Leslie since the beginning. This would not be public. We are onto a huge story here. It's absolutely huge. I mean, this could take this to another level. We're going to have to talk about it more tomorrow. It's past 9 p.m. I'm quite tired, and this was a breaking news stream. But I want to let you know that thanks to Meredith, dear Meredith, we are on to something big here, in that this lawyer, Grace Edwards, who is not on the record for Jessica Leslie, but has been with her from the beginning, is on video on Fox News, and there's also in the New York Post, there's a written article parroting pro-Karen Reed talking points, which means this lawyer, who was with Jessica Leslie from the beginning, quote unquote, might have been a mole for the Karen Reed defense. And I don't even know if the U.S. Attorney's Office realizes it. I want to wrap up this breaking news stream, though, because that's a huge piece of news in and of itself. How do I even write that up? I would like to write it up with you all now, but I don't even know how to do that. This is such a... oh, yeah. We'll just do it like this. We'll do it in real time. That's the best way to do it. All right. Hold on here. Hold on. How far are we into the stream? Oh, wow. We've already been going for that long. All right. So let's see here. All right. What do we do? All right. We're going to go to... Well, we have 2 pieces of news to break. There's the Hank Brennan story and this story. I'm going to break it to my 7 followers. All the media already knows anyway. They know who Little Towel is, and they know what I have to say. All right, so how do we want to do this here? What's the best way for me to clip this? All right, hold on here. Let me decide on how I want to do this. It's kind of hard to rip Fox News videos. But yes, just to reiterate, and I will talk about this more tomorrow, the lawyer for Jessica Leslie is not Grace Edwards. It's some other guy. I filmed him. It's this guy. This is Victoria Edwards' lawyer walking out of court. Judge rejected the sentence. And any that guy. Comment. See that guy? That's her lawyer. This is my interview of him. Judge rejected the sentence. And any comment? Tough day. That was intense. I am quite an on-the-street interviewer. That's one thing. All right, so if you're just tuning in, it was a big day. I think let me just go break this news. Let's get back together tomorrow. This was a breaking news stream. My name's Grant Smith Ellis. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you want to support this stream, I'll drop some of my links in the chat. Just know it's hard to get down to federal court. I don't know. I'm always pushing myself. I'll figure it out. There are these apps that help me get through the month. But anyway, I went down there. It was $46 fucking for parking. So thank you to those who have been supporting. I couldn't even find a 4-hour parking spot. Thank God I didn't, because I needed to be there for every moment of it. But there are other ways you can support the stream as well, and I'm going to drop those in the chat. So this is a public information service. It's designed to engender cogent public discourse, such as to educate, inform, and entertain the wider public. We use entertainment here as a hook in order to engender cogent public discourse, such as to ward off the usurpation of our representative forms of government worldwide. And if you can get down with that, then you can like this channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I'm going to turn on the subscriber-only chat mode more often, so people will subscribe and start chatting. Also, more importantly, this, as it's a public information service, outside of the YouTube ads, there are no ads. Okay, there are no sponsors. It is simply me doing this. So, firstly, if you really want to pay it forward and you like this stream, you like the breaking news here, consider donating to Lindsay Gattani's legal fundraiser. I think Lindsay's wonderful, so you go ahead and do that. Now, if you want to help Little Towel, you can support Little Towel as well. Hold on. I'm going to get there. Hold on, Little Towels. All right now. All right. Come on. I want to share my... maybe it's a sign that I should... No, it'll load up in a second. But I'll share my links as well. You can support this stream by super chats, memberships. You can also make donations. I have a Cash App. It's the money sign Grant Smith Ellis. I have a Venmo at Grant -E1. You'll know it's me because it's a picture of Elmo. That's an inflatable Elmo doll that I was going to send a picture of to my friend whose nickname was Elmo. He was a veteran of the Armed Forces of the United States. And I took that picture in December and I wanted to send it to him. He was traveling or something. And when I sent it to him when he got home, or when I was going to send it to him, sadly he passed away. So Towel loved Elmo very much. And now every time someone says, is that a picture of Elmo on your Venmo? Is that you? I can be like, yes, let me tell you about my friend Elmo. See, it was a plan. Truth over bias. That's a good point. Let me take a look at that, because what might have happened is, and let's double check, because remember, we got 2 simultaneous stories, whether Hank Brennan and Leah Foley ever worked on a case. If that site just got updated to replace every attorney on the of record with Leah Foley, I'll check it out. But I can also go into Pacer, Truth Over Bias, and I can see who the attorney of record was, because the assistant U.S. attorney, whatever it was, 2017, 2019, they have to enter an appearance. So if I find on Pacer an appearance from Leah Foley, maybe she worked as a prosecutor before, etc. But that's separate from the Grace Edwards issue that we know to be a real hot button issue. But yes, my name is Grant Smith Ellis. And I want to drop my hold on. I want to drop my donation info in the chat. Took me a second to get it loaded up. So hold on. Help support Little Towel. There we go. Now, a lot of you asked for these links because apparently they're more helpful. So I'm going to do that. I've also had a long day, so forgive me for taking and it's not just me. Towel Computer doesn't exactly love when Towel, pushes him to his limits. But we love Towel Computer, so. All right, so I'll throw that information in the chat if you want to support Towel Stream. I'm not going to do my traditional ending. Thank you to everyone who showed up in chat today. We were just talking about whether Hank Brennan and Leah Foley were on the same case together. So in order to find out whether, not on the same case, but whether Hank Brennan was a defense attorney in a case that Leah Foley prosecuted. Now, she's on the record of the case on a website, but I have to go into Pacer to find out whether she actually entered an appearance or whether this website that has U.S. Attorney Leah Foley listed as the party of record for the U.S. In the United States just got updated. I have to find out if Leah Foley actually entered an appearance on that case. I don't know. I'll take a look. Well, yeah, but I'm also going to, girl with an eagle eye, if it's true, that's the first part, finding out whether they actually were on the same case. But in any event, not going to do my traditional ending because, one, I'm exhausted. This was a breaking news stream. My name's Grant Smith Ellis. Lots of ways to support. God bless you for tuning in. This was a big day. Jessica Leslie, the grand juror leaker, guilty plea accepted, disposition provisionally rejected, the disposition of 1 day in jail, time served, 24 months supervised release. And then also, of course, the big news. Jessica Leslie leaked, according to the Boston Globe and Little Towel, about the CDL issue with the state troopers in January of 2024, between January 25th and January 30th. And then also the Karen Reed case, which was referenced in court as a federal grand jury that was impaneled February 1st, 2024, but is no longer active. Okay? So that was quite a day. I think we're all a little bit disorientated, kiddies. It was a whirlwind. My name's Grant Smith Ellis. Feel free to watch the replay. We'll be back together probably tomorrow, maybe the next day. We will do our best to decompress. Little Towel had quite a day. I want to go get some food. I have not eaten since 11 this morning. I'm very hungry. I cannot live off 7 coffees. Let me just tell you, 7 coffees does something to Little Towel's brain. I feel like I could run through a wall. Secondly, I need food because I'm getting a little dizzy. You don't understand? Towel can't exist without food. So, I would love to keep talking with you all. This is just news after news after news after news. But I should go eat, and Towel loves every one of you very much. So my name's Grant Smith Ellis. Tune in tomorrow, youtube.com/@GrantSmithEllis, where I'll keep breaking the news, and I'll keep reading the chat where you all help me to do that. I really appreciate it. God bless each and every one of you. Kitty says, I pray for evil to be thwarted in the continued KR saga. I agree. Leafy, it's so great to see you, my friend. Yes, I will absolutely try to stream tomorrow. I'm going to set up the stream for, let's say, mid-afternoon. I have to sleep in. I'm sorry, I pushed myself to my absolute limit today. I'm lucky I did not collapse. It was very hot out there. I was running around like a little mad towel, and now I need time to recover. So let me clip this thing about the defense attorney, Grace Edwards, who had been with Leslie since the beginning, whatever that means, and was doing pro-Karen Reed propaganda recently as a month ago in the New York Post and 4 months ago on Fox News. And yes, Harvard Yard, it was great to see you. Enjoy your evening, friends, and we will be back tomorrow to cover all of this and more. My name's Grant Smith Ellis. Thanks for being with me on this breaking news stream. I really have to go now. I think I have to go to the bathroom, too. All right, good night. Towel loves you. On that note. All right, good night, Towel friends on the YouTube. No extra today. I'm going to bed. God bless. Love you very much. Great to see each and every one of you. Sorry I can't do a name read. You know I love each and every one of you. I'll leave the comments open for a few minutes as you get caught up. All right.